Perfect. Hello, hello, everybody. We are about to get started. I'm just going to keep letting people in. Just know that I'm multitasking as I'm doing this. Adam, hello. Hi, guys. Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay, we are having an unbelievable presentation. You don't just have one expert on tonight, you get two experts. You have Darren and Nikki on tonight, and they are going to be talking to you about, well, three experts. You're right, Adam. I love it. How to get out of the friend zone. Again, I'm not really presenting. I'm just here to moderate. And then I have my friends, Darren and Nikki. They're an unbelievable couple of people and also a couple as a couple. I would love if you guys can drop your name and location in the chat. I like to see and hear where people are coming from, and I like to see who's on these calls. So I see Chad and Adam and Josh and Mark, hi. And Richard, wonderful. Awesome. So I have John from Maryville, Adam from Illinois, Matt from Denver, Chris, I think it's Albuquerque. Sorry, I'm Canadian. I don't know, but Chris from Albuquerque, Brett from Texas, Daniel from San Francisco, Josh from Boston, Johnny from San Diego. Love it. You guys are from all over. So thank you so much for tuning in from wherever you are and giving us 2 hours of your time for an amazing presentation. Okay, next slide. By the way, Darren is my assistant for this. He is going to those slides. That's why I say next slide. So I just want to let you know, a little disclaimer, basically everything that we say on here is amazing, legit advice. But for legal purposes, if you misuse it, if you use it incorrectly, if you get in trouble for using it because you're misunderstanding something, it's not really on us. That's what this is saying. Like, don't come and blame us if you step in dog poo. That's kind of what it's saying. All right, next slide. Okay, so I would love for all of you guys to turn off distractions. My phone, I finally learned how to turn off my notifications on my email, so those aren't coming in. I've turned my phone over. Please put your phone into airplane mode, close email, close your social media. Please give us 2 hours of your time, because these 2 hours, if you really pay attention and then apply what you've learned, it's going to transform your interaction with women, especially if you are consistently finding yourself in the friend zone with women. This is going to change many, many things for you. So turn off all distractions and please pay attention. This is the first step. Oh, can't even speak. First step in putting forth the effort to become the kind of man women want. All right, next slide. Okay, so today's masterclass, it's going to take about 2 hours. You're going to get an email with the masterclass recording within 24 hours from me. Usually I have it around midday the next day. Oh, go back. Sorry. Midday the next day. So also with the replay of the masterclass, which will be in the members area. If you don't know where the members area is, you can email my support team and they will get you access to the members area. But you will also get the PowerPoint from this presentation, and you're also going to receive an audiobook version of this masterclass so that you can listen to it on a hike, in the car, wherever you want. So I want to spark your sensory, or I don't even know what the words are, but you know what I mean? Like, give you information in the way that you take in information. So all of these will be available in the next 24 hours. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is how to ask a question. So this masterclass is really meant for Darren and Nikki to speak, but if you do have a question, please stay on mute. Don't start screaming out loud, taking yourself off mute. And I would love for you to use the chat feature in Zoom, and we will be reviewing all of your questions, meaning I will be reviewing your questions and inserting them along the way in order to cover everything. Main thing is to stay on point. So I've had classes before where we're teaching about how to banter with women, and guys are asking questions about the friend zone or about things that don't really pertain to the presentation. So please try to make your questions make sense to what's being asked in the class, and not also asking, 10 steps in advance, because we're going to cover a lot of things and we're going to go over what we're going to cover as well. Okay, next slide. All right, so find the chat feature So type a 1 in the chat if you found it. Just letting you know, on my Zoom right now, they've changed it where you press these 3 dots for where it says more, and then the chat option is in there. But for most people, it's right there. Okay, so everybody found it. Great. Okay, next slide. And that's where you type in your questions. So from time to time, we will ask you to comment, just like I'm doing right now. This allows me to do a little bit of a temperature check to see where everybody is at, if people are understanding. And the truth is that the more that you participate, the more value you will get. That's why we're having you type responses. Because when you start using your fingers, you start using your hands, you're using your brain, but you're also programming yourself to start paying attention and understand. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, is this the first Wing Girl Masterclass that you've attended? Please type a 2 in the chat if this is your first class. Okay, oh, lots of first ones. Adam Kudo, this is your first class? I didn't realize that. Okay. Matt, it's your first class. All right, Richard Baker, Josh, lots of you guys. Alan, Chris. All right, well, welcome. I think this is going to be a great class for you to have your first experience with us, break your masterclass hymen, so to speak. But yes, next slide, please. Okay, so let me ask you a question. How many of you have a female friend you have a crush on right now? One who shows absolutely no signs of attraction for you. So if that is you, then put a 1 in the chat. If you have a, yeah, lots of people. All right, or the next question, next slide. Oh, I think we missed some of the wording on the other one.
Go back?
Okay. Sorry?
You want me to go back a slide?
Maybe. Well, it's okay. But basically, you get the point. It's you, most likely. It is you. So women always tell you things like, you're a nice guy, but I just don't feel that spark with you. I think we're better off as friends. Sorry, I just don't see you that way. I'm sure many of you have had these things be said to you, or at least a feeling that this is being said to you. Well, I want to let you know you are in the right place because we are going to help you change that. Next slide, please. I wanted to share this topic with you because I want you to know the real reason you're unable to create that sexual spark with a woman and the fastest way to turn things around and stop being the friend. I don't want you to be the friend anymore. I want you to be the guy, that amazing guy that women are all over. And you can say, I want to be friends with you instead of vice versa. So that's the reason that I wanted to do this class. And really the reason that I started my business 20 years ago. So this class is like all encompassing to my mission and my goals for you. Next slide. Okay, so this class is for, I'm gonna ask you to mute yourself. This class is for guys who often get stuck in the friend zone, guys who have trouble creating that spark in the conversation, and guys who struggle to get a woman interested in meeting up, dating, or seeing them again. Next slide. This class is not for guys who are interested in personal growth and learning how to have healthier interactions with women, guys who aren't in it to win. I don't know. Next slide. I'm not sure if that makes, okay, hold on. Okay. You will walk away from today's class knowing what the friend zone is, why it happens, how to avoid it in the first place, and if you find yourself in it, how to get the heck out. Next slide. Friend zone to end zone. Yes, Adam, I agree. Okay, so here is a little bit of info about your presenters. I chose Darren and Nikki for your experts on this topic because they're widely known in the industry for their successful work in coaching so-called hard case clients, men who have traditionally found dating to be very challenging. Virgins, short men, East, South Asian men, especially immigrants, professionals in STEM fields, and introverts. These are their guys. So the point is they have worked on the harder cases, right? And they are excellent. So Darren and Nikki are your hosts for this evening. Okay, next slide. And now it's your turn.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, next slide. Okay, so here's a little bit about both of them. They're pretty,
Let me go back.
they're pretty phenomenal. So for nearly 17 years, Darren and Nikki have been helping men around the world in dating, confidence, and relationships. They have extensive professional experience in coaching, counseling, and mentorship. Instead of teaching quick fixes or tricks, Darren and Nikki take a grounded, holistic approach combined with a practical framework to create true transformations to help clients find and keep their own dream relationship. Together, they founded and currently run Become Sharp. You may have seen them in popular media, including the New York Times, VH1, The Dr. Phil Show, Bravo, Nightline, and A&E Television. Perfect. All right, are you ready to meet them? I'm sure you are. Let's all give them a virtual standing applause by dropping a 1 in the chat, please. Yay. All right, now the floor is yours. You guys can speak now.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Marni. Thank you to you personally. Obviously, I've known you for, wow, decades now, right? And so thank you. Yeah, yeah. And Marni is one of the OGs, right, of the industry. And so many people have actually kind of dropped out because they just weren't good enough. They couldn't hack it, whatever. And Marni's been right there and one of the lasting people in this industry. So thank you, Marni. And thank you to your team. And for all of you guys who took time out of your day to attend this masterclass, thank you guys as well. So one of the questions you guys might be wondering right off the bat is, why should I listen to this short Asian guy and his weirdly much more attractive girlfriend and coach? At least that's what I would be wondering if I was you, right? So aside from Marni's glowing introduction, here's what I can tell you. So first and foremost, we're one of the most experienced coaching companies in the world, having been continuously coaching clients since 2007. We are also, to my knowledge, the only real life coach couple in the world who specialize in helping severe cases where men are really struggling and have tried everything else and nothing seems to be working. We also coach under very strict ethical and moral guidelines, kind of the way Marni was talking about, because the skills and abilities that we give clients are incredibly powerful and they must be used responsibly. And last, we use a very brutally honest, tough love approach to creating real transformation rather than tricks and gimmicks. I was a Marine sergeant and I'm not particularly known for my tact. So we're definitely not for everybody, but if you want real results and you're willing to work for it, then you've come to the right place. All right, so let's move forward. Okay, so the title of my childhood might as well have been called the friend zone itself, because that's the only zone I ever knew besides the invisible zone, and that doesn't have the same ring to it. So we're gonna go with friend zone. Here are some key indicators of what childhood was like for me in adolescence. So growing up in junior high, high school, my best friends were girls, and not girls in the popular way. To give you an idea, I was voted friendliest boy in 8th grade. And I don't know if you remember anything about 8th grade, but that's not a compliment. That's not a good thing. You don't want to be voted friendliest boy in 8th grade. That means you are the king and the emperor and the all-encompassing president of the friend zone. My best friend, who was a girl, and I would sometimes hang out with her other female friends. And I was the only guy. So the group, I have a picture of this somewhere. I couldn't find it. The group is me and 15 or 16 girls hanging out at some girl's house. And to the outside world, it looks like I'm the most popular guy in the planet because it's me and 16 girls, several of whom, by the way, I had a crush on. No other guys, right? Either that or I was the gay best friend, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But despite that incredible ratio, I somehow managed to graduate high school without ever having held a girl's hand who wasn't my mother. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we're coming from. So after high school, things didn't really improve. I was a virgin well into my 20s, and this is despite being a black belt, a varsity wrestler, a Marine sergeant, and later a 23-year-old homeowner with a sports car. Like I clearly tried everything, and it didn't matter what I accomplished. I was still invisible to women, and that's kind of where all this kind of came from. So I tried everything under the sun. Nothing was working. This was a few decades ago, so I know I'm dating myself, but I eventually embarked on my own personal transformation. I had some great mentors and coaches, but mostly this was a trial and error type of thing. And it was mostly fueled by foolish, kind of idealistic optimism. But I really believed that I could change, that I could improve, that I could kind of change your lot in life. And so I took the knowledge and the background from both my martial arts and Marine Corps background, and I applied it to acquiring these skill sets that I knew, or at least I suspected, would really help me. So these were skills in conversation, social skills, charisma, humor, self-confidence, etc. And after a while, people started noticing and they started asking questions, and they wanted to know what I was doing, how I was making such a drastic improvement, what was going on. And that eventually led to me being recruited to teach and coach for a company in the industry. And it led to me leaving my job in software development to run their training department as their head coach. And then eventually I left to start my own business, which I've been running ever since. So that's a little bit about me, where I came from. Nikki also has a fascinating but similar background, despite looking like she was the girl who bullied me in high school. So I'll let her tell her story.
Okay, hi guys. It's nice to see you all. Yeah, so not only was I not bullying the dog, I was one of the dogs getting bullied by the popular kids. So it got so bad that I actually had to move schools because the bullying wouldn't stop even after several years of it. So I was so badly not a romantic option for the boys that I went to school with that I was literally the butt of every joke as the girl you wouldn't want to be caught dead with. I got called names. I literally had food thrown at me. You name it. It was not a fun time. On top of all that, I always felt like everyone else got this handbook on how to be cool and how to be socially competent, and I just didn't. I just didn't get it. And they understood the so-called rules, and I felt so lost. Only to keep making the same mistakes that got me laughed at more. So it was kind of a vicious cycle every time I even tried. I didn't even understand how to like casually stand with my friends. I would always look at the other kids and kind of see how they were standing and try to copy them because I just didn't seem to naturally understand things like that. Um, while this experience really gutted my confidence and my self-esteem, it really sparked an obsession for social skills, social dynamics, psychology, and how to be attractive to the opposite sex, both through behavior and physical appearance. I became so excited about the concept of being able to transform into someone who was cool and well liked and attractive inside and on the outside. So I went through my own transformation after school, high school, and when I became best friends with this girl who was 6 years my senior, who just seemed to get it. She just kickstarted my journey by taking me to clubs, making me talk to guys. She told me how to do my makeup. She taught me how to dress hotter, pluck my unibrow properly so it wasn't, 3 miles apart like I originally had it. She was witty and fearless and confident. So I really learned a lot from just being under her unofficial mentorship, you could say. I then began soaking up any materials I could that would help me become better. Like I studied it because I just truly believed that social skills were indeed a skill and that the ability to consistently attract and become confident around the opposite sex was something I really could be great at. So along this process, I was going through my own transformation and I would watch my brother, who was also socially awkward and somewhere on the spectrum, really struggle. And I knew change was possible because I was doing it and I really wanted that for him as well. And I had a mentality of what if I could learn it, but the other way around and help his social and dating life, because it's just a bit of a different skill set. So why not? Like learning different instruments. I was a musician, so I played different instruments. So to me, it was like, okay, different instrument, but still music, right? And that's when I got interested in coaching men because I believed that I could help my brother and then I could help other men. So fast forward to me moving to America, I started training. I'm originally from Australia, by the way, in case you couldn't notice the accent. I started training and coaching with Darren, learning his particular systems, as well as implementing my own personal style, strategies, and systems. And I also went through being a guy myself. Sounds funny, but being a guy myself so that I could coach men from a guy's perspective. And one of the ways I did that, for example, is I created online dating profiles as a man and talk to women, and not a good looking man as in because I because that's obviously a lot easier if you're just a really good looking 6 foot something tall model in Los Angeles messaging girls. I made sure my profiles were average to below average looking men.
Mostly below average.
Below average, okay, fine. Below average looking men. I was trying to be nice. Asian guys, South Asian guys, and texting women as a girl, making sure I was able to implement this skill set as a man as well. Not only just so I knew I could do it from that point of view, but also because I really believe in empathy and being able to understand what it's like on the other side. So I do have my own things that I went through that give me a lot of empathy for, especially for guys that got bullied in high school and went through rough times, but also just the empathy of being on the male side of dating, because it's a different world, especially with the lack of options and things like that. Okay, so watching student after student consistently just make these huge transformations in their lives was really, truly rewarding to me. And a testament to all of this just being a skill set that can be learned by anyone, just seeing that repeated over and over again. So after you becoming a coach at Become Sharp, Darren and I started dating. Fast forward to today, and we now have well over 2 decades of collective experience coaching men on making their own personal transformations. And over the last 7 years, we have refined and codified our teachings together as a couple. So it's been really rewarding because each client reminds us of our own transformation in some way. And we love seeing our clients succeed where they previously thought it was impossible.
One of the kind of ironic, or I guess appropriate aspects of us teaching how to get out of the friend zone for this topic in particular is that when we first met, I was basically in the friend zone because for some weird reason or another, Nikki didn't have a 5'4" Asian guy fetish.
Yes, no, I did not. Yes, when we first met, I was not attracted to Darren at all. Sorry, honey.
It's okay. I'm all right with
it. This wasn't like, we haven't talked about it. This wasn't love at first sight at all. It was probably like indifference at first sight. When we met, my first impression was actually literally in my mind, I just was like, wow, he's really little, because I saw him
which is hilarious because I was wearing boots that like increased my height by like 3 inches.
yeah. And I still was like, no, he's a really little guy. So I essentially saw him 100% platonically. Not a shred of physical attraction. He may as well have been like a piece of furniture, like just nothing there.
So I'm sure at this point, what everyone's wondering is, what the hell did I do? Like, how did I go from being the captain and the MVP, the GOAT, the friend zone, to being in a relationship with Nikki? A girl who looks obviously way out of my league, but more importantly, is so nurturing, caring, strong, and amazing that I wake up every day ecstatic that I get to spend another day on this planet with her. So it's convenient that you ask that because that's exactly what we're going to teach you guys today. All right, let's go to the next thing. All right, so let's get started here. So let's talk first about what is the dreaded friend zone. All right, so the origin of the friend zone was from the show Friends, if you guys remember that. 1994, if you can remember, season 1, episode 7. This is when it was first mentioned, but this is the definition. The friend zone is when someone is romantically attracted to someone else who doesn't share those feelings, but remains friends in the hopes that one day their crush will change their mind or suddenly become attracted to them. Now, there's something interesting about the friend zone that's very foreign to us as guys, though, because we process romantic prospects differently than women do. I'll let Nikki kind of break that down. Let's go to the next one.
All right. So how do women process romantic prospects? So women have this ability to compartmentalize men into platonic or sexual categories, often independently, of the man's physical looks. I would also argue that we value friendships with the opposite sex more, as in men are usually friends with women to eventually have sex with them. And women are more like, women are more likely to actually really want to just be friends and value the man as a person.
And once you categorize, let me go to the next one here. Once you categorize a man into platonic, how hard would you say is it to see him in a sexual way?
Well, it kind of depends. Like if he's hot, we are usually choosing to put him in that category because we
like furniture hot or like regular hot?
Just regular.
Okay.
We usually choose to put him in that category because we value the friendship, or there is something off-putting like lack of maturity, or if he's not hot, you would have to suddenly see him differently and then suddenly sexually attractive.
Okay. How fast after meeting a man do you do this categorization?
I would say it's like a case-by-case basis. So some men, it's instant because there's no chance you want to date due to lack of attraction. It's just like, nope, like instant no. In the case of a really attractive man, probably over time, because it's because of some reason, like valuing the friendship or realizing there's incompatibility. Maybe we went on a date and there was like a deal breaker there. So you're like, oh, it's a deal breaker. I can't get past that. Like, he's attractive, but that's it. Except this is how like a lot of women get themselves into a situationship because they keep getting fooled over and over again by his looks. So they try to get past like the deal breaker and try again, and then like, oh, it doesn't work, and then they try again. Or straight away, as well as if it's like they're married or something. So it's like an instant, you can't go there.
Marty, do you think it's worth defining a situationship, or is that kind of a well-known term?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay.
Unless if it's really quick, yes, you could do
That's
that.
our problem anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. They don't need to know.
Yeah. Then there's the guys in the middle who are mildly attractive to us, kind of could go both ways, who you would probably give a chance, basically just seeing if they have attractive behaviors, like being funny or they're charismatic, and then deciding after that assessment.
Got it. Okay. So when does the friend zone happen, and why does it happen mostly to men? All right. So there's actually three major causes here. So the first is scarcity, second is overinvestment, and the third is lack of sexual attraction or sexual tension. And we'll get into each one of these. The relationship between these major things essentially looks like this. If you guys look at the slides here, scarcity causes overinvestment, which causes a lack of sexual attraction and tension. And this is really important because then when we get into it, we now know essentially how do we stop this from the get-go, or how do we fix this, because we're looking at root causes. Okay, so if we look at scarcity, the definition is basically exactly what you think it is, which is having too few romantic options. So men tend to have fewer romantic or sexual options, as I'm sure you guys are all aware of, because it's, you know, the way society is that men are essentially the people chasing, or they're the people initiating or whatever, right? And women tend to be the people deciding, right? And that's not good or bad. It's just how it is evolutionarily. So, but because men tend to have fewer options, they cling to platonic female friendships as last-ditch efforts. And this is not a just anecdote. This is a critical part of evolutionary biology. So essentially, your evolutionary circuitry is designed to make sure that you have kids. And this is not from current day. This is, you know, thousands of years ago. It's designed to make sure that you pass on your DNA, and it's going to try everything in its power to make sure that it's going to drive you to pass on your genetic code, to pass on your DNA. The problem is, if you don't have a lot of options with women, your brain will interpret the one woman who's in your life who might otherwise be a platonic friend and say, this is your only shot. Your only shot is this. You've got to do something about it. And that's exactly why you end up running into a scenario where sometimes you're not even really attracted to them at the beginning. And then a few years later, you suddenly start finding yourself attracted to them. Sometimes that is just because of fewer options or loneliness. Okay. So yeah, scarcity also triggers feelings of loneliness, which causes men to become more needy. And if you guys aren't aware, neediness is probably not a good thing. Neediness tends to kill attraction. Okay, this is one reason why guys with tons of options rarely complain about being in the friend zone. And this is a really interesting thing if you think about it, right? So we all have those guy friends with tons of options. Women are always chasing them, usually 6'2" Abercrombie model looking guys. You'll notice they almost never complain about being in the friend zone. And it's like, they're just good looking. What does that have to do with the friend zone? And it's because of this. It's because abundance stops that from happening. Okay, so then scarcity, or neediness, as the case may be, then causes overinvestment, like we saw on the diagram, right? So overinvestment is thinking about the woman too much, fantasizing about a romantic relationship with them, often fantasizing about having sex with them, doing special favors for them to get them to like you. You're overinvesting usually on an emotional level, like you're thinking about them too much, right? So what this ultimately ends up is it causes you to get overly attached, because the more you think about them, the more you're emotionally invested. And you're essentially causing yourself to fall in love with someone who doesn't even know you like her. Or worse, as the case with me in the past, fall in love with someone who doesn't know you exist, right? And that's really where this all comes down to. So this overinvestment then leads to
lack of sexual attraction and sexual tension. So overinvestment often causes men to create an emotional connection before any type of attraction is present. So remember this, that girls are not machines that you put kindness coins into until sex falls out. So when she develops an emotional connection with you, before she actually is attracted to you, you are in the friend zone by definition. So the way in which this usually manifests is when a guy is being her shoulder to cry on and to vent to, complain about her friends, her work, her other dates, being her companion to events, and even small things like doing mundane tasks with her just so she's not lonely. Doing these things means that you are overinvesting both your time and your emotions. Okay. Remember that if physical, as in looks-based attraction is not present, then you must create behavioral or status-based attraction before you establish an emotional connection. So we'll explain those things later on in the lecture.
Okay. Another root cause for a lack of sexual attraction or sexual tension is this so-called nice guy effect. And you guys are probably somewhat familiar with this, but if very few people have defined it, right? The nice guy isn't a guy who's nice, as weird as that sounds, right? The nice guy is the guy who's overly agreeable, who's safe, who's harmless, and who's predictable. So the nice is not the issue. We're not saying don't be nice, right? Nice is great, and you should be nice, but nice without power, without confidence, without assertiveness, and what we call edge. Like it's the feeling of he can protect me. Nice without that makes you a bunny rabbit. It rapidly kills sexual attraction and puts you in the friend zone. And that's one of the most important things about the idea of the friend zone is a lack of edge is what causes that feeling in women. Okay, so this nice guy effect, it makes you a good friend if you think about it, right? Kind of, we break this down. It makes you a good friend because you're safe, but not a good romantic partner. Like, it doesn't make you a good romantic partner because from an evolutionary standpoint, you're harmless. And harmless means you can't hurt her, but it also means you can't protect her. So evolutionarily, if the bad guy or the lion or the tiger or any danger comes to protect her and you're the harmless bunny rabbit, the most you can do is be a victim with her. And remember that women are looking for primarily protection. Not in a real, like not in a 2024, that's what they think they're looking for, but in an evolutionary biological sense, they're looking for protection. And so this is how you look at it, right? The female equivalent of this, because from our perspective, the female equivalent of this is a woman, imagine, who is really, really nice to you, right? But she's really, really overweight. So think about that. Her being extra nice to you doesn't change anything. It just makes you value her more as a friend, but it does not change the sexual or romantic option. And that's because it's the same mechanism there. Okay, so let's pause for a quick recap here, and let's go into what we've learned. So far, we've covered what the friend zone really is, the three main causes that get you into the friend zone, and how the nice guy effect destroys your chances of forming a romantic or sexual relationship. All right, pop quiz. The question for pop quiz: name one type of attraction you should have or create before forming an emotional attachment. And just drop your answer in the chat here. And if you get it wrong, Marni will berate you.
I'm going to start reading some answers. Sexual, status, physical, status, sexual.
Interesting. Okay.
Some of them were right.
It's actually physical, behavioral, or status-based. Although you could argue sexual is similar to physical in nature. But yeah, so you can create attraction being good looking. That's the physical part, right? Sexual attraction is a result of physical attraction or a result of other things. It's not its own thing. Behavioral is your behaviors make you attractive, and status based, of course, is your status makes you attractive. Okay, so really good pop quiz there. All right, so let's go to the next thing. Okay, let's talk about what not to do when you find yourself in the friend zone. Also known as shitty advice from friends, family, and the internet. Okay, so the first one, which you guys have probably heard before, is be yourself. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but this is very, very bad advice. So this is well-meaning, but it's worthless advice. And the reason it's worthless is not because it's wrong in every context. It's because it's not actionable. It's not effective. So at best, it means be more confident, which is sort of like telling a blind man, like, just see. Come on, man, just open your eyes. Just open your eyes more, right? Like, it's not actionable. It doesn't move the needle. It doesn't change anything, right? And at worst, it means do the same thing you've always done and expect a different result, which is really bad because it means you don't actually ever move the needle. You don't ever actually change anything. Okay. Next piece here. Confess your feelings to her. So this is also a very common one. Confess your feelings, often through a grand gesture. Okay, so you don't want to do this, obviously, and you especially don't want to do this if you want to keep her as a friend or if you have friends in common. So any of you guys that are Indian or South Asian, a lot of those guys will do that, and you'll see this in, like, if you guys ever see like the memes of like the Indian guy who like is like, "You're so beautiful, oh my God, I profess my love for you," right? To the random girl on Instagram. That's because it's from Bollywood movies. That does not work in real life. It probably works in Bollywood, does not work in real life. In the real world, not only does confessing your feelings often not work, but it makes it weird often, and it often scares her. Now, if you do it really, really gently, it could not scare her, but it still is off-putting. It still makes her uncomfortable, and that's really the problem with this, right? You tend to weird out the woman. You tend to damage your social circle if you're both in it. It tends to be a net negative on almost every different way of going about this. Okay, next one here.
Okay, the next one is the strategy of trying to act like an asshole. So this just makes her not want to be around you at all. It not to mention that your sudden shift into this mentality is going to most likely weird her out at best and have her stop hanging out with you completely. Remember the rule, doing the opposite of the problem is rarely a good solution. So if you're dying of thirst, the solution is not to drown yourself in pool water. The attempt to be an asshole to get the girl is just like, it's just misguided advice. And we'll explain its flaws further in the lecture.
Okay, the next one here is try to act aloof and play hard to get. So this, you'll see this a lot in like pop culture and stuff.
And this doesn't work because it's just so transparent. Hard to get doesn't work with someone who has no interest in you in the first place. It'll just seem like you went cold, weird, or you just disappeared. If she shows up, if she shows up, if she shows up to your door, if she follows up and it's not because it worked and she's now in love with you, she's just wondering where you went. Or this is if you are good friends, right? So she's probably just wondering where you went and is sad to not have your companionship anymore. And the reason that guys think that this works and it's a problem essentially is because what happens is sometimes you will pull away from the girl and she will miss you. And it's either because she enjoys the free attention and validation you give her, or she just genuinely enjoys your friendship. So she may entice you to come back by reaching out or giving you attention and even flirting with you. And a lot of guys will get excited because now that she's flirting with you and giving you investment, it must mean that she likes you now, right? So unfortunately, most women know that either consciously or subconsciously that to get a man's attention back, that something like flirting and throwing sexual interest is effective because it pretty much is. So then guys will get confused when she throws this interest to like lure you back in, and then you just get immediately put back into the friend zone when you do come back. So not a very effective strategy.
Okay, next one here. Just wait around until she suddenly realizes that you're the right guy for her. Another romantic comedy trope that does not work in the real world. I've tried it, doesn't work. Barring being extremely lucky, you will be waiting forever. And the more you wait, the lower your chances. And generally, I don't think relying on pure luck is an effective strategy, especially if this is your dream girl. All right, another one. Make a move, shoot your shot. This is a more current, like modern one, right? And it's a reaction to guys being stuck in the friend zone and feeling like I have no options or I don't know what to do. So let me just make this big move, right? In the majority of the time, here's the thing to realize. You're in the friend zone because the woman is not attracted to you, not because she secretly has a crush on you and you're missing all of the signals that she does. The mentality guys have is like, oh, what if she likes me and I don't know. So if I make a move, she'll suddenly be like, oh, we can be together, right? It's almost never that way. The friend zone is 99% of the time a lack of attraction. So by telling her, or by making this big move, you're not really changing that and changing and creating attraction. You're not making her attracted to you. It's going to weird her out and it's going to make her uncomfortable. And if you do this at work, it's going to earn you a trip to HR, which is not fun. Okay, so let's go to how to avoid the friend zone in the first place. All right. So first thing is stop over investing, emotionally or otherwise. So that means stop thinking about her, stop fantasizing about her, stop imagining what your life would be like to be with her, stop sexually fantasizing, stop thinking about her when you masturbate, all of those things. Just stop, right? I've been there, we've all been there, we've all done it. It's a mistake because it causes you to overinvest. Stop treating her in ways you would never treat a male acquaintance. So remember, she's likely an acquaintance at this point. She's likely not the person you call to bail you out of jail, right? She's someone that you know and you like, you're attracted to. Treat her like a male acquaintance. Now, that doesn't mean treat her badly. It just means don't overinvest there and in a way that you would never treat a male acquaintance. And last, stop prioritizing her above everything else in your life. So don't drop everything in your life just so that you can be there for her. And the guys think like, oh, if I show her I'm there for her, then things will change. The problem that you don't realize is that doesn't build attraction. It doesn't change. It doesn't actually create attraction the way you think it would. And again, go back to the same analogy, right? If very, very overweight platonic friend of yours did that to you, would you suddenly be like, oh my God, she's so attractive? No, you wouldn't, right? So that kind of gives you an idea of how this works. Okay. So next thing, don't create platonic friendships with women that you're sexually interested in or that you want to date. So if you want to create platonic friendships, hoping to one day date them, understand it crushes them when they realize you never valued them as a person or as a friend outside of someone you just wanted to sleep with. Because they're seeing that as like, oh, I really want to be the friend. And wow, why does it keep happening where guys are just basically using me, right? And whereas they really actually wanted to be a friend, a genuine friend. Okay, the other one is stop creating rapport or deep emotional connections without sexual tension. And this is important because you got one of the things that we'll see is when you do that, you get stuck in the friend zone, you put yourself in there.
Okay, next is stop being overly agreeable or overly risk averse when interacting with women. So examples of this would be agreeing with everything she says because you want her to like you or approve of you, overly filtering things you say because you need her validation or you're just terrified that she might not agree with you. You don't ever tease her because you're afraid of upsetting her. You avoid even minor or mitigated risks in your everyday life. Like you always play it safe.
Okay, next slide. All right, time for another recap. Okay, so in this section, we've covered the 6 shittiest pieces of advice you can take when you're in the friend zone and the 4 don'ts to avoid getting in the friend zone in the first place. Okay, now it is your turn. What is the worst or most frequent advice you've gotten about the friend zone? Drop your answer in the chat and let's share.
That's good. And you can even repeat some of the ones that were listed, guys, because I think like that happens for most people with your friends are like, why just go for it, just say something to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just like, yeah, or be yourself. Yeah. Yes, that's very common from hearing from your friends. Just be yourself and she'll like you. Be yourself and she'll like you. That's unavoidable. Once you're there, you're done. Be your kind self and things will work out. Yep. Yeah, allow it to happen naturally. That's yeah, exactly. That's
and it's funny because the women that tell you that would never date you.
100%.
Yeah.
What? But because they're envisioning a person they're already attracted to, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's where their advice is coming from.
Mhm.
So when they say just be yourself, it's because they're thinking, oh, what would I respond to? Okay, if I was attracted to this guy and he just was
Yeah.
in front of me, I'd totally
Brad
go
Pitt is
for
just
it.
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're like, would you
Not
date someone
you.
like me? No.
That wouldn't work for you. Exactly.
That's why you're my friend.
I see you as like a complete asexual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But good answers. Very good answers. Tell her you love her. Take a chance. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. These are really good answers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's get into the big stuff. How to get out of the friend zone. So this is the meat and potatoes, right? So pay attention here. Step one. A lot of guys don't like to hear this, but you have to reduce contact. And you don't have to cut her out of your life, but you have to reduce contact if you're assuming you're in the friend zone already, right? You have to reduce contact temporarily because essentially you have to reinvent yourself. And you can't do that when she's basically seeing you every day. So you need to give her the space to change how she sees you. So think of it like how if your friend, his hair gradually gets longer every day and you hang out with him every day, you don't notice his hair's getting longer. But if you don't see him for a month and then you immediately notice the hair growth, then it's like, oh, he looks so different, right? Because you just immediately notice it. So you need her to suddenly see you differently, and you can't do this if she's too used to seeing you on a daily or even a weekly basis. So that's kind of the first thing. It also prevents her from seeing you as one of her girlfriends who provides her kind of this daily emotional support, which kills sexual tension. And it also allows you to stop over investing because you're seeing her all the time. So obviously when you're around her all the time, the investment of just spending time with her is definitely a thing. And last thing to be aware of is the longer you've been in the friend zone, the more you need to reduce contact. So if we're going to get specific here, I'd say if you've been in the friend zone for a few weeks, you could probably mirror that for a week or two. If you've been in the friend zone for a few months, you're probably, it's probably mirrored actually. It probably takes a couple of months. And if you've been in the friend zone for years, you might need like a year plus because you maybe 6 months to a year, you need to be gone long enough to where when she comes back, she's like, whoa, assuming you've been working on yourself in the process, right? She's going to be like, whoa, you're so different. If you've ever like had a platonic friend or even a friend or whatever, like a female friend, and she just loses like 100 pounds and you're like, whoa, I see you so differently now, right? It's the same thing, same exact idea, right? And that's why you need to cut that contact because otherwise it's going to be too gradual.
I do want to clarify one thing on the giving space. It's not like you just, again, disappear. You said don't just disappear. It's that you shift the way that you interact with her and that you have other plans. You're doing other things. You're not just like blocking her from your cell phone. But if she's saying, hey, come over and, fix my screen or come over here and
fix my computer.
You just say, hey, like I actually have a class. I'm doing a Taekwondo
Get
class.
really busy all of a
I'm
sudden.
really busy. That's all. That's all that it is. It's I'm really busy.
Mhm.
And so actually, maybe I want to hear your advice on this. Like, how do you make that clean transition without saying, I'm going to take a break from you for 30 days? Is that okay? Like, how do you transition that?
That's a great question because if you're doing things correctly, you are really busy because by reinventing yourself, you have to put a ton of time and effort into it. Like you got to go to the gym, you got to change your fashion, you got to do all these things. You actually don't have time to just hang out and fix your computer all day, right? So it's not a fake thing. It's like a real,
You're
like
not
I'm
doing
actually
it so
busy.
much as a ploy as it's just a real situation for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're prioritizing other things, which is what you were
Yes.
talking about before. It's
Right.
that you're not prioritizing her. That hangout doesn't trump you even reading a book about confidence, right? You want to prioritize that time that you put towards that over her for that time period. And again, it doesn't mean shutting her out. It just means like, hey, I would love to come do that, but I'm doing this.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm going to be on Marni's masterclass.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm watching a masterclass tonight. I can't think. I'm probably gonna be exhausted after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So step 2, date more women to create abundance. Now I know what you're thinking when I say that because it's probably the same thing I was thinking, which is if I could do that, I wouldn't have this problem, right? So I get it. I do get it. But theoretically, remember this, right? Options equals choice and choice equals power. This is why it works. So I'm not saying you have to go out and be a Lothario, you have to go out and be, a pimp and Mac Dad, whatever, right? But you do need options. And I'll show you guys how to enable that, how to actually do that. Because even if I can do it as a middle-aged 5'4" Asian guy, you guys can do it too. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any distinct advantage. I have the Asian thing and on top. So to give you an idea, we've calculated the 1 to 10 scale, like women on a 1 to 10 scale. On the guy 1 to 10 scale, I will never be above a 3 out of 10. Now think of what you think of when you think of a girl who's a 3 out of 10 and you're like, oof, right? That's me. That's where I'm starting from. And if I can make this work, you guys can make this work, right? So you just have to know what to do and how to do it. And that's what we're going to explain. So options equals choice, choice equals power, and women are attracted to power. Okay, so one of the most common reasons guys get into the friend zone is because they lack the abundance of dating options and women and whatever. That causes them to get needy. It's not just some ethereal thing. The lack of abundance causes you to get needy and act desperate with a female friend, and that kills attraction. And that causes her often to friend zone you. So going out and increasing your options, even psychologically. So even if you go out, you talk to 20 women a week and all 20 of them tell you to get lost, you are psychologically creating options because in your mind, you're like, well, it could have gone somewhere, even though it didn't, right? So even on a very basic level, the psychological element of options gives you more of an abundance mindset. And that means you will not pine over this woman and begin to instinctively overinvest. Here's an interesting kind of tidbit, kind of an aside. I can synthetically create the idea of falling in love in a closed environment. And you can see this on reality TV all day long. It's because I accidentally did it to myself. If you put yourself on essentially a deserted island with no other woman but one woman who you're not that into, those of you who have ever been in the military, you probably know how this works too. If you just are in an environment with one woman that you're not attracted to, over time, your mind starts to play tricks on you. It starts to make you fall in love with this woman. And then the moment you see any other woman, you're like, what was I thinking? Like, well, why was I? It's like beer goggles, but it's like desperation goggles, right? It happened in the military. It happened afterward. You can actually create it because it's a mechanism about that the mind's working on, right? It doesn't mean it's real, but it means that you will instinctively pine over a woman that you're not even really that into because of that scarcity. And so that's where this becomes an issue. Okay, so the easiest way to fix this, aside from going on talking to people, is online dating. The caveat here is you have to be willing to put in the work, which means you have to optimize your profile, you have to get good photos, you have to go to the gym, you have to do the stuff, and you have to obviously message the women, right? But quantity-wise, online dating allows you to get a ton of quantity. And assuming you don't have a large social network and don't have a lot of experience like cold approaching women, online dating is the fastest way to create options, even if they're not dream girl options, just psychological options, because that's what's going to kill that sense of like neediness or pining over a girl because she's your only option. Okay. So next thing, step 3, work on the things that can make you more physically attractive. So this is things like fashion, right? Fashion is something that a lot of guys kind of poo-poo. They're like, I'm not into fashion or whatever. And I wasn't either, right? But once I started to realize the benefits of that, of learning and you don't have to be like on the catwalk, but learning the basics of fit, color matching, style, even sometimes brands, how things will fit on you, how things work with your body type. The bar is so low because most people are so bad at it that even if you have some of the basics down, like you're already head and shoulders above people. So what I would recommend is actually getting into fashion, but like men's fashion, but from a practical standpoint, not well, I'm going to walk the catwalk thing. The first thing you do is you get a lookbook. So those of you guys have ever heard of Pinterest, go on Pinterest, look up men's fashion, and there's going to be this ton of all these like pictures of guys mostly buff to be fair, but guys with different looks. Some guys old, some guys young, some guys short, some guys tall, whatever, right? Pick the ones that look closest to your body type and start collecting them into what we call a lookbook. And then when you go to the store or whatever, you go to the mall, do that every week and try to find those outfits and try them on and don't buy anything. Just try them on and take pictures because over time, what you're doing is creating reps and you're getting a sense of what fit looks like. So does this look like the picture or like on Pinterest? No, I'll try something else. Does this color work on my skin tone? And if at the beginning you may not know, but over time you'll see that and you'll get a sense of like, oh, this is what looks good on me just from sheer repetition here. Optionally, what you can do also if you want to fast track this is pay a fashion consultant or a stylist to curate a look for you. That will fast track everything. You can knock out a whole wardrobe in basically a day or a weekend. So if you have the resources for that and you'd rather not spend the time on it, you can fast track it. That is an option as well. All right, so that's fashion.
So I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I actually added a stylist that I work with named Erin. So I added, she does free consults for anybody who mentions my name. She's usually like $1,000 to do a consult with. So she's my friend. We've been doing this for 20 years. She offers free style consults, meaning that she'll tell you what size fits you, what your colors are, what you should do with your hair. Like she'll do this all for free in a consult, and I put her information there. And I am just going to take 1 second to share my screen if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I do want to.
Do I have to turn mine off or no?
No, you don't.
Okay.
But I'm going to show you guys. I just want to show you what style can do. I know it's not all about the outside, but it is partially. Okay. So these are before and after for guys. Like, just look at what this can do when you change your style. So for older guys as well, that was one of the questions that was in there. Like, I want to show you the biggest transformation. Look at this guy. That's just style. Okay. She just pulls out what's inside of you. She doesn't just make you into like a Barbie doll, Ken doll or whatever. Anyway, my point is style is a huge thing that can transform. And then your inside can start to match your outside. So anyway, sorry that I took the screen away from you, but it's just so important.
Yeah, definitely. So fashion, like physical fitness, oh, I went to the wrong one. Fashion, physical fitness, getting in the gym. So if you know what you're doing, do it, obviously. A lot of times we know what we're doing, but we just don't do it. Here's a weird thing. I've worked out for about 20 years. Let's see, 30 years. Yeah, like almost 30 years. And I hired a trainer about 5-10 years ago. And I realized I wasn't getting to the gym on my own, so I needed a trainer to push me to do it. So I hired this trainer. I went and I got a great trainer. And what I didn't realize is the gap between what you know from 20 plus years of personal experience and what a actual good trainer knows is like the difference between 8th grade and Harvard. You're like, well, we both can spell, we both can do algebra. Like, how much of a difference could it be? It was massive, and it was humbling. And that trainer took me to a place where in my 40s, I'm stronger than I was when I was in my 20s in the Marine Corps. So when I was an active duty Marine, I'm stronger today than I was then, significantly so, right? And so and in addition to flexibility and other stuff, right? So a trainer is a weird thing that even if you have a lot of experience, it's worth trying out even for a session and seeing. And a great trainer will humble you. A great trainer, you're like, oh God, I thought I knew what I was doing, but apparently not. Dietitians the same way. Keep in mind, a nutritionist is not a protected term. Anybody can call themselves a nutritionist. I am now a nutritionist because I said so, right? Dietitian or an RD, a registered dietitian, that is a protected term. So when you're looking for people to help you with diet, look for a dietitian, a registered dietitian, an RD. Don't look for just a nutritionist because they don't have really any certification, any training, anything like that. That's just they put their name, the nutritionist, after their name. All right. So fashion, getting in the gym, get a high-end haircut.
Put your screen back up. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh, is my screen up or no?
Oh, to share your screen. Yeah.
Oh, I have to share. Oh, I have to share. Sorry, I have to share mine again.
That's okay. I just want to say I took mine off so you can share yours again.
Okay.
Sorry.
Got it. All right.
But I do see many good-looking men here who could benefit from a little style assistance. Just by the way. Okay, now continue. Sorry.
Okay, so the third piece here of the puzzle is get a high-end haircut. And this is one of those things where if you haven't gotten it done, you don't know what the difference is. Most of the guys that we work with are getting haircuts in the $15 to $30 range. And it's sort of like if you were, imagine you're into cars, right? I would imagine most of you guys or some of you guys are into cars. Imagine you had a friend who said he only buys cars that are $3,000 or less, and he doesn't understand why they keep breaking down. You'd be like, because you can't get a good car for that amount. Like, it's gonna break down. That's just the nature of it. High-end haircuts are expensive, and they are generally worth it. So, and the thing is, if you haven't experienced it, you don't actually know if they're worth it, right? So here's how to do it. One, go on Yelp in your area, do a search for stylist or barber, and sort by the number of reviews, and look for ones that have like hundreds or thousands of reviews, and look for ones that the star rating is like a 4.4, 4.5 or above, like very, very like high star rating. Then go and look at the pictures and make sure there's a decent number of pictures in the Yelp kind of review picture section that are people that have your hair. So for example, if I go and this guy's got, great reviews, but all of his clientele is like Black women, that's not going to help me, right? So make sure it's a similar type of hair. Second piece of this thing is, this is going to hurt for those of you guys not used to this. Don't pay less than $50. I pay about $125 for a haircut every month. And it's because there's a very, very big difference. Now, I'm not saying you have to go that far, but there is a very, very big difference between a high-end haircut and a low-end, and it generally is worth that. So one of the kind of tricks you can do here is take pictures before you go in assuming this is a good stylist or hair or barber, take pictures of your hair, like all different angles, right? Have a friend or whatever take all these pictures, then go in, have them cut it, have them style it, and then take pictures afterward. If you don't see a very big difference and you don't start getting compliments, that day and whatever, it probably wasn't very good, or maybe you don't need it, right? But most of the time, it just wasn't that good. What you should notice with a high-end haircut is immediately that day and afterward, everybody notices and everyone starts complimenting you. And that's the main difference, because it is a big difference between those. So high-end haircut for most of my clientele is definitely a plus, and it's definitely worth it. Like I said, if you have those pictures, sometimes you can take those pictures back to your old guy too and say, hey, just replicate this. And if he's good enough, sometimes he can do it. So sometimes the high-end guy is just there for like inspiration and like the creativity, and then the other guy can replicate it. But either way, those are very important things.
And hair makes such a big difference for guys, and it's such an easy fix too.
Right.
So it's definitely something that's worth the investment.
Yeah. And if you're doing online dating, especially,
then you absolutely
yeah.
need a great haircut.
In that case, also, you want to make sure that you pay for professional photography, and you want to make sure, this is the tricky part, you want to make sure you pay for a good photographer who also knows online dating well. And there's not that many of them. It's very, very, very difficult to find. There's a guy in Australia who I've seen is decent at it. I cannot find anybody in the state. It's so bad.
There's like one guy in New York.
Yeah, it's so bad that I do photography like kind of on the side, and I would love to outsource this to a good photographer who can do this, and nobody can do it.
The problem is that a lot of the photographers that are good photography wise are usually good because they shoot models for magazines.
Yes.
Not the average guy. And it's very different posing an average guy that's maybe never been in front of the camera before. It's very easy to shoot a professional model.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the posing, it's like what they're used to, sometimes online dating. So sometimes there's a thing where they'll get a really, really good photography shot. It's like my photography side is like, that's so good,
it's good,
but it's just not attractive. Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work for dating, but it's impeccable from a photography standpoint. And that doesn't help you if you're doing online dating. So something to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So next thing. So I know what you guys are thinking. It's like, yeah, for you, whatever, right? Like work out, dress better, like do your hair, whatever. Like we know, right? We know, like we get it. But like how much of a difference would this really make? And we saw a little bit with Marni Stylist. If you put all those things together, what does that really look like, or how much could that really do? I can show you guys, because I've gotten permission from some of our clients to actually show you guys what it looks like. And this is what it looks like on a before after. So you can see the difference, right? This is the kind of difference we can create. The guy on the left gets stuck in the friend zone so much that he's waving to all of his female friends. That's why he's doing that, right? And the guy on the right is smiling because he doesn't worry about that anymore, right? That's the same guy. Now, it's the same guy with a lot of work, but that's the same guy, right? Full disclosure, we're not just doing fashion, as you can probably tell, right? We're doing fashion, fitness, hair. He's part of a coaching program. So we work with him on body language, social skills, interacting with women, confidence. And so you can feel the confidence too, right? In that second photo, you're like, man, that guy just feels a lot more confident. It's because we've worked on the confidence too. So it's not just photography, right? So, full disclosure, but this is what's possible, right? This is what you can do here. And of course, I shot this professionally, so it makes sense. I'll give you guys a couple of other examples. This is a guy who's more classically good looking, but you would never tell from the before shot. And he was like, hey,
he was not doing himself any favors.
How come I can't get any dates from online? He said, let me look at your pictures. And he showed them to me, and I was like, oh, that's why. I was like, you're a good looking guy, but you're like the early 2000s movie of like the pretty ugly girl, right? Where they had the girl who was like, yeah, the girl who's like obviously hot, but they made her all ugly up, right? Yeah. Like that's you. That's what you're doing, right? And this is what we can do with fashion, that transformation.
My dad dresses like his version.
I think all of our dads do.
Yeah.
And this is number 3, right? So again, same deal, right? This is a transformation of a guy who put in the work and was willing to do the fashion stuff, was willing to do the fitness stuff, was willing to do all these things. And you can tell like there's a big difference. So like this kind of gives you an idea.
And these guys are at such a demographic disadvantage
yeah,
as well, and they're still getting these fantastic results.
Yeah it's funny too, because these guys, like, they see the photos and they're like, "Do you really think like this will help?" And then like a week later, they're like, "Oh my God, why am I getting so many matches?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
It always
"Did
happens.
you not see your old photos?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But it is hard to believe when you're in that phase, right? So yeah, so this gives you guys an idea,
And
right?
and another thing is, if you're in a big city, especially like Los Angeles type thing, you're competing against really good looking guys in
Yeah.
all categories. So you really have to make sure that you're really optimizing your profile, and that leads with photos, because online dating by default is selecting from looks first.
Yeah, there's so many guys online too. There's so many people she's scrolling through that if you don't immediately stand out for some reason, ideally some good reason, you're just gonna get swiped left on, right? She's gonna bypass. So that's why this is important. Okay.
Can you guys speak to potential thoughts in the guys' heads of, shouldn't she just like me for me? And why do I have to put in all this effort? I'm a really good person, right?
You know where
So
I'm going
No,
with this.
absolutely.
You know where I'm going with this. Is if your dream girl gained 200 pounds, would you still be attracted to her and just be like, well, you like her for her, right? Like, so what? She's morbidly obese now. Like, you like her for her.
Well, when you go
All of a
into
sudden.
an interview for a job, do you show up in your pajamas and put your feet on the desk because, they should just like you for who you are? Like, I'm just not going to put in any effort to my appearance. I'm not going to put in any effort to what I'm wearing. I'm going to clip my nails on the desk because that's what I would do if I was at home and being myself. So they should just love me for me.
Yeah, it's a very, very common thing. It's one obviously that I've thought and I've feared or whatever of like, I just want someone. It's actually, I was reading somewhere that it's one of the most classic male fantasies, not sexual fantasies, but fantasy in the sense that they want a woman who genuinely wants them for him. What you guys aren't realizing though, and what I didn't realize at the time, is the woman doesn't start to get to know who you are until you pass the first screening phase. And this is the first screening phase. So if you don't pass the screening phase, just like if you have a crappy resume, you could be the best worker, best employee, best whatever in the world. They'll never actually get to interview you. They can't because your resume is too bad. So you have to get your resume down to the point where you actually get a chance to get to know your dream girl and she gets a chance to get to know you. And so that's kind of how we look
And
at
the
it.
other aspect of that is it is you, because
Yeah.
you're not your clothes, you're not your hair. Like, that's not who you are intrinsically.
Yeah.
So changing that doesn't mean she doesn't like you. You just have better clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, let me ask one more question. So Michael said, I'm confused. Looks don't matter, but looks matter? So
Looks absolutely matter. They just don't matter as much as people think. So that's the rub, right? So looks matter in environments where there's nothing else to go on. So if you walk and meet someone and shake their hand and immediately start talking to them, looks matter much less than you think they do, which is why I can walk up to a girl who's a foot taller than me and she can feel attraction, even though I shouldn't be able to get that based on my looks. But if I do that online, it's different because online, there is no personality that shines through at the beginning. It's only your looks. So online, it's extremely important. But in person, it's moderately important. So that's kind of how you reconcile that.
There's also a
Very good question.
threshold of importance as well.
Yes.
Because it's like, oh, you could say, well, looks aren't important because I could just be funny. But if you have like dirt under your nails and it's turning her off, she's not going to listen to your funny part because she's too distracted by the dirt under your nails or your lack of grooming.
Nose
So
hairs.
there's like a threshold of where you have to hit at least to be like Darren said, getting to past that screening phase.
Yeah. Very good questions though, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome questions. Okay. All right. So let's jump into the next thing. All right. Here are specific social skills that I want you guys to focus on that will specifically enable you to get out of the friend zone or hopefully prevent you from getting in the friend zone in the first place. Okay. So skill number 1 is called disagreeableness. Disagreeableness is one of the big 5 in psychology in terms of personality characteristics, but it's more than a personality characteristic. It's a skill. And we group strong opinions into this too, as well. And I'll break these down so you guys know what it is. Disagreeableness is the ability to disagree with someone in a way that shows that you're not afraid of the disagreement, but you're also skillful enough to disagree without being off-putting. So that's the rub, right? Because it's like, I could disagree with anyone and just be a dick to everyone. And why doesn't it work? Because you have to be skillful at it and you have to be able to do it in a way that exudes confidence, but not do it in a way that turns everybody off. And that's a very fine line to walk, especially when you like somebody or you're really attracted to someone, because instinctively you don't want to disagree with them. You want to agree. You want to just just to go along with everything that they say. And so you have to have that skill set to be able to be disagreeable. Now, strong opinions, these are the foundational building blocks of conversation. So without them, you'll struggle to make conversations with strangers, and especially attractive women. You'll end up generally asking the women endless questions in the hopes that they'll carry the conversation for you.
And it turns into an interview.
Yeah, like an interrogation, right? So if you've ever been in a situation where you're talking to an attractive woman and you just realize at some point you're asking her a lot of questions, that's what's going on, right? You're not leveraging strong opinions, which are the foundational building blocks. You're just resorting to questions. So the equivalent to this is if you don't know how to fight and you're in a physical confrontation, you end up just wildly swinging around. Like there is no skill involved. You don't really know what you're doing. You're just wildly swinging and hoping for the best, which might work if you're bigger and more athletic than the other guy, but God forbid the other guy's a boxer. God forbid the other guy's a fighter because he's going to take you out, right? So what we want is strong fundamentals, and strong opinions are those fundamentals. It is the fundamental building block of conversation, and that's why it's so important. Now,
I'm
both
going
strong.
to interrupt you for one quick second.
Yeah.
So can you give examples of disagree, or like maybe parameters for the disagreeableness? So Johnny wrote, I disagree with a lot of things. It makes it seem like I'm not interested in them.
Right.
So is there a way to disagree and not be hated?
Yes.
Right. Or okay.
Yes.
So
you essentially disagree with charisma and you disagree with strong opinions. So okay. For example, Marni, if you and I were talking, whatever, right? And you were saying, oh, I'm just going to grab a Diet Pepsi, right? And because I just think they're so much better than Diet Coke, right? I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I agree. They are definitely better. I would say, Marni, I'm so disappointed in you. I thought you had better taste in this, Marni. Diet Pepsi? Really, Marni? Like, you're a person who has good, impeccable taste. There's no way you would actually like Diet Pepsi, right? So I'm disagreeing with you, but I'm doing it in a way that is both complimentary and also playful. Now, if I was just like, ew, Diet Pepsi, what's wrong with you, right? Like, that's a little bit different. That starts cutting.
Agreeableness shouldn't
right.
be a put down.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So most of the time when guys do disagreeableness and it turns out bad, it's because it's coming off like a put down, or it's ending the conversation, or it's off-putting. It's snarky. Yeah. So, but if you're doing that skillfully, that's when that becomes really useful.
Perfect. That was a great clarification. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So, unfortunately, strong opinions and disagreeableness are beyond the scope, obviously, of this specific masterclass, but both of them are super important. And we highly recommend focusing on them for basically all skill levels, because it's going to make a very big difference here. Okay. All right. So how does this, or why, right? Does this help you get out of the friend zone specifically? So in this case, both of these techniques give you the much needed element of edginess that we talked about before, and confidence, which counters any persona of like being safe or harmless that if you're at this masterclass, you're probably projecting, right? Which is exactly why we're here in the first place. So remember, from an evolutionary standpoint, these things, strong opinions and disagreeables, indicate to the woman that you're confident enough and competent enough to keep her safe from enemies and dangers, which is why it triggers attraction so much. Now, everyone's like, what the hell does having an opinion have to do with keeping her safe from enemies? It's the mentality of, if you're too scared of voicing a real opinion around her, what makes her think that you're going to be confident enough to fight a lion for her? There's no chance. She's like, he can't even stand it to me. Like, there's no chance he's fighting a lion. That's the mentality, right? That's the evolutionary circuitry. So when you do have that ability and you can do it skillfully, then she feels like, oh, I feel safe. It feels like he'll actually be able to defend me. Okay. So that's skill number one. Skill number two is humor and teasing. And again, this is one of those things where obviously easier said than done, but very, very effective.
Okay, so why it helps with getting you out of the friend zone is that laughter makes people want to invest. So humor is actually an indicator of intelligence, competence, and creativity. So women seek out intelligent and competent men to keep them safe, like we said, and it's a sign of healthy genes. Like literally, they will take it as a sign of healthy genes. So humor also creates investment, and investment creates attraction, and attraction leads to sexual tension. Not to mention laughing just plain feels good. So she's now associating those feel good feelings with you when she hangs out with you.
Okay. All right. So why does this help you get out? Oh, hold on. Oops. Hold on. Oh yeah. So you covered this. Why does this help you get out of the friend zone? Right? Because it allows you to do all those things, and because it creates attraction in a place where attraction wasn't there. And when we get into the case studies later on, we'll actually break down what is going on, and I'll be able to show you a real life example of leveraging that specifically to create that. Okay, so next thing here is flirting, right? Okay, so flirting creates sexual tension in a non-threatening, fun, or emotionally evocative manner, right? That's the essence of it. If you show zero interest in someone, you have to understand there's no tension, there's no danger, there's no drama, it's safe. Now, safe is good in a way, but it's also bad in a way, like we saw, right? On the other hand, if you show too much interest, it's dangerous, potentially creepy, potentially weird, and potentially off-putting. So how do you balance those two things? Flirting is the key, because flirting allows you to show interest in a way that is non-threatening, and in a way that she's comfortable with, and in a way that is enjoyable. So again, the skill of flirting is obviously beyond the scope of this masterclass, but I've put together some guidelines, which I think might help you guys out and point you in the right direction. So the first is that, remember, flirting is almost always requires laughter, especially at the lighter stages. So if she's not laughing, you're probably not doing it well. This is also why if you have a wife or a girlfriend and she sees you from across the room talking to a woman and she has no idea what you're talking about, you're not even touching the woman, it's just a normal, regular platonic conversation, and the woman keeps laughing, your wife's going to come over and be like, what the hell are you doing? Right? Or no, yeah, she's probably going to be like that. Yeah, right. Like, she's not going to be happy with you. Why? It's just laughter. It's because laughter is so closely correlated with flirting. And so if you're trying to flirt and there's not a lot of laughter, you're probably not doing it well. Okay. Second thing, remember, flirting is not showing direct sexual interest. So the mistake a lot of guys make is they think flirting is just
Talking about sex
or showing some sort of direct sexual interest or whatever. That's not flirting. That's just showing interest and potentially showing creepy interest. So it's playful interest, not regular direct interest. And third thing is that flirting is almost always an indirect insinuation of interest in somebody. So it's not disinterest, it's interest, right? So it's less the idea of, like, for example, like, imagine you said, I find you very sexually appealing, right? That's not flirting. That's just direct interest. Indirect insinuation of interest is saying something like, you're pretty cute for being named Joanne, right? Which, if you think about it, you break that down, we're kind of being funny, cheeky with it, but we're also saying she's cute, right? And you see the difference there. You kind of feel the difference there. That's flirting versus direct interest. Okay, so obviously also notice in the second example, we're playfully ribbing her while telling her we find her attractive. But also understand that this does not work if you have the wrong intent. So if you say the exact same thing, and you say, you're pretty cute for being named Joanne, right? Same exact words, but instead I've changed the intent to try to put somebody down, it blows up, doesn't work. And so the intent is super, super important. It has to be done playfully, and it has to be done with warmth, because the objective here, remember, is to show interest, not disinterest. So if that becomes snarky, or if that's to put someone down, it becomes disinterest, and then it becomes a turn off. Okay. All right. So I want to show you guys what this looks like in real life, and some real life examples, right? Hopefully you guys can see this. If not, I'll read these off. So these are real life text exchanges from years ago, of just some random person online, right? And I'm going to show you guys, let me move this over so I can read it. I'm going to show you guys basically what's happening. If you guys can't see this, then I'll try to read off here. And I'll break down what's going through my head as I'm doing this, right? So this is Bumble, which means the girl messages first, right? That's how that works. So she just messages, hey there. I say, hey, which I'm mirroring, right? I'm mirroring the investment level. And then immediately I say, so to give you some backstory, this girl her name is Isa or Isa, I don't know, whatever, right? This is Southern California. She looks Hispanic of some sort, right? So I said, for some reason, I read your name in my head as Paisa. Do you know what that is, right? So those of you guys that don't know, Paisa is a semi-derogatory term that Mexicans call other Mexicans when they're from the mother country, right? So, like, Asians will call each other fobs, like fresh off the boat, like you just came from the mother country and you're backwards. It's like that, but for Latinos, right? But I didn't call her that. I just said I read her name like that. And she says, wow, haha. The wow, haha there means that the interpretation of this is like, I can't believe you said that, which is a risk, but it is a calculated risk because I do not want to go in safe. I already look safe. I already look like I would never hurt anybody. Like I have the look, right? I cannot go in safe. I have to immediately create investment. So she says, yes, I know what that is. Haha. Is it because I'm Mexican? Haha. Right. So keep in mind, the ha-has don't necessarily mean she's laughing super hard, but she's giving a lot of investment because she sent me 4 messages in a row, right? But I'm taking a calculated risk here by actually essentially using what could be considered a derogatory term. It's not super bad, but it's, you know, it's risky. So I said, I didn't know you were Mexican. It just sounds similar. Okay, on second thought, maybe it was that shirt in your picture. So context, she had a shirt in one of her pictures that looked very, very redneck Mexican. Like, you know what the redneck Mexicans look like? Like the guys with the like checkered shirt, the cowboy hats and the cowboy boots, right? Who are from Mexico. It looked very much like that, right? Which fits into this whole narrative of the paisa thing. So that's why I said on second thought, maybe it was that shirt in your picture. So notice I'm playfully teasing here. I'm not agreeing with her. I'm not giving compliments. I'm messing with her. I'm teasing her. I'm joking around, right? And she said that was a shirt my Thai friend's mom had bought. So so she's basically trying to turn it around on me like, oh, I hope you feel bad about it, making fun of this shirt that like my friend's mom like made for me, right? Or bought for me. And then I said, you know, you have to admit it does kind of look paisa, right? Which is calling back to the original thing. You just need a cowboy hat. Again, the cowboy hat is part of the look, right? It's part of the whole like the look that no like Mexicans don't actually like, at least Mexican Americans, right? So I'm playing on that same idea. And she says, yeah, yeah. And she says, I'll admit that it totally does. So she's agreeing, she's buying into this, right? And then I said, see, I'm not crazy. This is the second thing here. She said, I never said you were crazy. So she's calling me crazy. So it's a little light flirtiness, potentially. And then I throw, because she's investing a lot and because she's like, I never said you were, comma, crazy, like she's calling me crazy. I throw some calculated risk of interest here, which is I'm impressed that you managed to look that cute in a shirt that ugly. So we've already established the shirt's not attractive, right? It's not like it's that bad of a shirt, but it's a shirt that plays into the stereotype. So I'm throwing, this is called push-pull. It's basically throwing playful teasing along with playful interest. This is very, very light flirting right here. So I'm throwing the interest of you managed to look that cute in a shirt that ugly. And she says, you can't even see my face. And so this calculated risk that I threw here to throw that kind of flirtiness is mainly to see how she's going to react, to see if she's going to buy into that. She's going to flirt back with me. Is she going to get uncomfortable? So she gave me neutral. You can't even see my face. It's neutral, or at least it's ambiguous. I can't tell. She's not necessarily flirting with me, but she's not necessarily getting turned off either. It's kind of neutral, right? At that point, the pizza we had ordered had just arrived. So I said, be right back. Pizzanista's here. The reason I said Pizzanista is that's the name of the place. I didn't tell her what it was. I just referenced it and I disappeared. Now, you guys can't see the time codes here, but the time codes here are about 30 seconds apart, meaning we're messaging in real time. Like she's not waiting a day to get back to me. We're messaging like one right after the other. That's an important detail because that means investment. And we're always looking at investment. So when I say be right back, Pizzanista is here, all of a sudden I'm essentially cutting the conversation short. And I'm doing that right now, not only because the pizza's actually there and I'm hungry, but also because I don't know when I threw the flirty test, I don't know if her reaction was good or bad. It's kind of ambiguous. So I'm going to pull back a little bit. I'm going to pull back so that I preserve comfort levels on her part. So then she initiates, even though I'm gone. And she says, so after like a few minutes, she actually messages, you must secretly like that shirt. So now this tells me, okay, that's interest. Because she brought this back up again. She brought up the shirt thing and she's trying to frame me as liking her. And girls don't do that. They don't like you, right? Or there's not some attraction. So this tells me there's a little bit of attraction here. Then she says, what's that? Again, investment here, right? So this is where we start leveraging the techniques that I've been showing you guys, right? Aside from the teasing, right? So I say, oh my God, you deprived child, right? So again, that is disagreeableness. Now notice it's not harsh disagreeableness, but that's disagreeableness. I'm not saying like, oh, I'll take you there. It's really good. I'm saying, wow, you are deprived. What is wrong with you, right? But I'm doing it in a playful way. The second thing is I'm addressing the shirt. And I said, you caught me. I secretly have a thing for really ugly shirts. you'll notice this is showing interest in I have a thing, but it's also reinforcing the ugly shirt. So we're doing both at the same time. So this is the idea of flirting and being playful that we talked about, while also doing the disagreeableness here. And then I said, Pizzanista is the best pizza on the West Coast. And I threw that out because if she is interested in meeting up with me, that is a thing that she can jump on. If she'll be like, oh my God, I'd love to go. Then you could be like, oh, I'll invite you. You know what I mean? So that's just a thing we threw out. So she says, I don't believe you. What's so good about it? She starts talking about, I'm guessing Naples, Florida style pizza. I'm not sure if that's how it's spelled. I said like Naples, Italy, and not Naples, Florida. Oh, no, she was talking about Italy. Yeah, but she misspelled it. I said, yeah, like Naples, Italy, and not Naples, Florida, right? Because Florida pizza isn't very good. She says, haha, Italy, Naples, Italy pizza is delicious. They say, oh, fancy, never been to Italy. How is it? So this is kind of just normal, regular talk. She said, I haven't been there. I just like the pizza place called, I'm guessing it's Nepal's, right? Or Naples, right? At Downtown Disney. And I was like, oh, I thought you meant Naples, Italy. And then I said, Pizzanista is like New York pizza, but super, super good. What is that? That's a strong opinion, right? So now you're seeing the implementation of strong opinions. And we haven't gotten into this, but this is also a seed, which means it is a opportunity for her to jump on this if she wants to meet up with me. I say it's in downtown LA. She says it's your favorite spot. I'm guessing she does not bite on this, so I go back on it. Or I don't push it. And then I said, yeah, today wasn't my doing. It's my sister's birthday today. She wanted to order instead of going out. So we're all eating pizza and watching Punisher on Netflix. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm creating an opportunity for conversational thread cut or a new conversation. This conversation about pizza is basically blah, like it's not going anywhere, right? So I need to create an opportunity to talk about something completely different without making it really obvious that I'm changing subjects. So you'll notice what I did is I just threw a ton of nouns at her, a ton of new topics that she can jump on. She can talk about the assistant thing, the birthday thing, the ordering pizza, going out, eating pizza, watching Punisher, Netflix. Like there's a ton of subjects here. And this happened to be the release date for the Punisher Netflix series. And so full disclosure, I also was obsessed with that series. So I was also talking about it with everybody. So, but this is what's going on, right? So that's what the strategy here, right? So next page here, she says, Punisher, the movie, or is the new series out? I said new series came out today. I sent her a picture of, we had the Punisher series projected on like a giant projector, like a 150-inch projector. And the reason I sent that is we're already talking about it, but it also raises a lot of questions. Like, where are you? Why is there a giant screen? What's going on here, right? Questions are good when they come from her because it's investment. So if she's like, well, what is that? Like, do you have a movie theater? Like, why is the screen so big? Like, whatever. That's her investing. So I want to throw things that will invite that investment. And then after I sent that, I realized John Bernthal had his shirt off and was looking kind of like this was the beginning of a porn movie. So I made the joke, okay, that sort of looks like porn. I admit I misspelled porn, but I swear to God, we're not watching porn in the office. So that was just an observation that I made and it was a way to kind of lighten things up. So should we be talking about the new series? Then she says, well, if porn at the office floats your boat, then that's all that matters, which is kind of neutral, whatever. I said it's really good. I'm a little biased though because the Punisher is a Marine. So notice I'm throwing a subject that she can latch on to if she wants, which is that I was a Marine. What was it like? Whatever, right? I didn't say I was a Marine. I just said I'm biased because he's a Marine, which is true. And that does influence the fact that I like the Punisher, right? But it starts a lot of conversations if she's struggling to carry a conversation because I'm giving her all these things to work with. So she said it makes it even better. I said, you have good taste. Are you watching it? We talked about that. She then says, I don't have Netflix. Okay, here's where disagreeable teasing comes in. She says, I don't have Netflix. And I respond, child, you are deprived. No Pizzanista, no Netflix, no Italy. Do you have electricity? So again, now we're seeing the playful teasing, right? That's also a level of disagreeableness, even though playful, that someone who's really enamored with her is not going to say because it's a risk. Because I'm asking her if she has electricity. I'm asking her if she like lives in the third world, right? I'm messing with her. And so that guy who would be really enamored with her is really needy would never say that. And so that's why this is so effective at getting you out of that friend zone. So she buys into it. She says, no, I live in the Stone Age, unfortunately. I buy into it because I'm not letting that slide. And I was like, can you at least make me a spear or something, right? She says, consider it done. So now what we're doing is called a role play. We're role playing like the idea that she lives in the Stone Age. Now, notice in this role play, I'm the person living in the first world in luxury, and she is the cave woman living in the Stone Age. That's intentional, right? Because when you do a role play, you generally want the role play to be you're in the higher status position because of the status attraction type thing. So we're playing around with this. I told her I'll show you this new invention that's going to blow your mind. It's called the wheel. She says, interesting. Tell me more about this wheel. I realized at this point, any answer I give telling her about the wheel is going to milk this topic of her being a caveman, right? So I need to transition out. I need to go completely different. So I say, somewhat ironically, I actually ride a unicycle. I was like, I have a car too. I'm not that weird. But yeah, the reason I threw the unicycle is it's going to completely change. It's not different enough where she's like, where did that come from? She knows where it came from, but it's different enough where she's going to jump on that topic. And then she says, do you actually have a unicycle? And I said, yeah, it's electric. It goes 20 miles an hour. I'm from the future. I live in downtown, so it's so much easier to get around than driving. So I've successfully now transitioned to another topic so that this doesn't get stale. It doesn't get old. She says, you really use a unicycle. That's very interesting. So I know that when I throw the unicycle, I sound like a dork, which is okay because I've been teasing her. If I haven't been teasing her, then I look like a needy dork, right? Which is a bad combination. If I've been teasing her and she's somewhat attracted, when I look like a dork, it's just like self-deprecation, which is okay if she's attracted. So then I take that as an opportunity to say, yeah, I'll show you sometime. I don't say when, I don't say how, I'll show you sometime. It's not as gay as it sounds, I swear to God. And I was like, on a scale of 1 to Richard Simmons, it's like Elton John, right? So I'm throwing a little bit of humor here. She says, haha, I'm sure it's not gay at all. Then weirdly, she changed her profile picture. Remember I was making fun of her picture for like the Paisa thing? She changed the picture mid-conversation. So I noticed, and I know what that means. It means she got self-conscious because I kept making fun of her for it. So she changed it. So that means I need to reinforce that. So then I said, you changed your picture, I approve, right? So it's like, I like it, right? Super cute, throwing a little bit of light interest. And then I said, because she did, you kind of look a little Asian. Like, are you a bad driver by chance? So then I throw a little bit of humor to soften it so that it doesn't become uncomfortable, right? So I'm saying she's cute. Then I'm like, you look a little Asian. Are you a bad driver? She laughed. She's like, you're so horrible. And I said, you didn't answer the question. And she says, are you a bad driver? I'm a great driver. And I was like, okay, you're not Asian, right? And that's basically the clip we have here.
And there's you're so horrible is basically the best response you could get in that situation. Yeah. It's like the equivalent of in real life if she hits you.
She hits you.
Stop it. Like that.
Right. That's what you're looking
for.
I think someone's not muted.
No, I'm muted, but now I feel like they unmuted themselves. All good.
Okay. So
I do want to add in one other thing. Like there's theory behind this. Mm-hmm. This may not be your style, right? Like there's certain things in here that you may not feel comfortable saying, but the theory behind this, which is the disagreeableness, this is the playfulness, this is the banter, who keeps unmuting this? Listen, we all want to hear everybody else on this call at some point, but not now. So please don't unmute yourself. But that's my point here, is that the theory is what you're paying attention to here, not necessarily the entire context. We're not asking you to copy what Darren's done, because certain things work for Darren that may not work for you.
Yeah, everyone's going to have a different style, but the fundamentals will remain, and the implementation of those fundamentals is where your personal style is going to come from. And so this is just a little slice of that, of what it looks like in my implementation of the examples that we just, or the concepts that we just talked about. So hopefully that helped a little bit. That helped kind of solidify what that could look like, and what it looks like in real life when you apply those principles. You'll notice, if you think about most text conversations or messaging conversations, online or otherwise, there's a lot of small talk, and there's a lot of agreeing, and there's a lot of very niceties,
and
right?
Getting stuck on the same topic.
Yeah.
For pages and not knowing how to get off that
How was your Monday? How was your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 31st? Like a lot of that conversation, right?
Or if the holiday, it was how was Halloween? How was Christmas?
Right. So there's a lot of that small talk, a lot of random questions we don't care about. Now think of that contrasted with this example where everything's high octane, there's a lot of laughter. Again, that's because of the implementation of those fundamentals that we just went over.
And I can tell you from firsthand experience that a conversation like this is a breath of fresh air. That makes you laugh, that you're having a good time. You're not talking about the weather. You're not talking about what you did that weekend. And it's a constant back and forth without, you'll notice like pages of text, like it's an email.
So
So
hopefully,
iPhone Chris asked, how can this be practiced? Like, how can you practice doing this?
okay, there's a few ways you can do this. The best way to do this is to practice. Let's see. The best way to do this is to practice on strangers, where if you mess up, it won't come back to you. So usually that is, if you're comfortable with the bar scene is perfect for this, because if you mess up in the bar scene, you come off a little bit weird, she forgets about it like 2 seconds later. Now, if you do that at work, HR calls you. That's bad, right? So you don't want to practice in environments where it comes back to haunt you. You want to practice in these kind of new environments. Sometimes you can do that if you're just kind of meeting people throughout the day. Online dating, you can do to a large extent. You just can't take big risks with
Where
like,
you'll get banned.
yeah, because the problem right now is if you say something and you're trying to tease her and it doesn't work right, they basically tell the app, this guy's harassing me, and you'll get banned, no questions asked. So it is a risk sort of that you got to take into account. The other option is basically what we do, which is we provide classes where we have a girl and we walk you through the process of, this is how you tease her. I want you to practice that. And if you colossally screw up and you offend her, it doesn't matter because she's an actress and she knows this is the role, right? So it's a safe environment where you can say anything you want. You can take any chance you want, and any mistake that you make is instantly forgivable because it's a safe environment to practice in. So that's kind of why we created that, because that's what I would have wanted. When I was a student, of like, I would love an environment where I could practice this. Those of you guys that are in software, think of this as like the dev environment, right? It's the environment where you can mess around, do whatever you want, and no one really cares because it's a safe environment to practice. Okay. All right. So hopefully that helped, guys. Let's go to our next thing. All right. So there's a poll. Which of these traits do you guys think will be the most challenging to work on? Go ahead and drop your answer in the chat.
Do you want to review the traits of, just because I feel like we've removed ourselves a little bit. So which of the traits, the disagreeableness, the opinionated, and
let me
sorry,
go
what were the
back.
other one?
Teasing.
Yeah. Let me go back to you
Flirting.
guys. So it is disagreeableness, strong opinions, humor and teasing,
And flirting.
and flirting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So which of these traits do you think? Flirting, better communication to allow the flirting and humor. Okay. Yeah, I guess how can you work on these things? I know the where, but like, I guess you just try it, right? Or
So,
you
sort of. Well, yeah. So
and try in a safe environment, but like you just try, you just start.
there's actually, there's two ways you can think of how to do it. There's structured practice and there's unstructured practice. Unstructured practice is what human beings have been doing for millennia, right? It's just throw things at the wall, see what sticks, and then eventually you'll figure it out. It's very good because anybody can do it. And the younger you are, the more you're forgiven for mistakes. The problem with it is it takes a very, very long time to get because it's trial and error. Structured learning is when it requires a lot more effort. It requires a lot more investment in terms of like, you have to focus on it. Structured learning is like taking a college class in something where you have a textbook, you go through it, like organic chemistry, you read through it, it's dense, you want to go to sleep, like, but you're really learning how to do this instead of being a trial and error type thing. The disadvantage is it obviously takes a lot more work. The advantage is you learn it 20, 30 times faster because you're not trial and erroring things, you're learning specific structures. So for example, the technique of throwing interest with disinterest, right? So we showed that kind of like teasing her, but also saying she's cute. That is a specific structure that you can practice. So you can essentially chain interest and disinterest together. And there's a structure of how you do that. And then you practice it over and over till you get the nuances, till you figure out, okay, this is too much, this is too little, whatever. And so that's the more structured way to learn that. And you can do that through classes, through stuff, training stuff, boot camps, whatever. Or you can, like I said, you can do that trial and error.
Yeah. Really, it's like any other skill that you learn.
Yeah.
Right. It's like learning the piano. It's like learning tennis. It's like
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's the skill.
Yeah, you can take a class in tennis and with a one-on-one instructor, or you can just get on the courts and play long enough to eventually pick it up.
Yeah, it just feels like a bigger risk for you because this is a skill that can have social implications, right?
Yes.
That potentially in your mind can have negative impact. But the thing is that, to be honest, you're going to start small in the very beginning. So it may actually have positive impact because before you were doing nothing and now you're doing something. So at least it could get different reactions from people and women that you weren't getting before. So I really only see the positives to taking this risk and putting that out there to try these things.
I would say as a recommendation, the more scared you are, and the more you feel like I can't do this, especially on the flirting side, especially if you live in like a small town or something, the more risk there is to your life, career, whatever, the more you should look into structured, safe environments. Because there's the probability that you'll actually do it, and if you do it, the probability that bad things happen is too high. Right. So it's like if I'm practicing double backflips, I'm doing that in that foam pit. If I'm practicing skipping, like I'll do it on the grass. It's fine. Like I don't need a crazy foam pit for that. And so that the risk involved is what allows you to make that decision. And that's why, like I said, that's why we provide safe environments to practice in, because a lot of guys don't have that. And if you don't have that, there's no way to practice it without taking on that level of risk. Okay, are we ready, Marni?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so there are some habits that significantly help you in getting out of the friend zone, in addition to these techniques, right? And so we've identified 3 habits that I want you guys to focus on, and that I want you guys to practice, because that's what these habits are. Okay, so the first habit is confidence. Now, I put this as a habit because most people think, oh, it's not a habit, it's a characteristic. You just have confidence, but that's not true. Confidence, like excellence, is a habit. It's something that you repeatedly do, like that fake Aristotle quote that everyone wants to quote, right? It's not even really him, I think, right? But confidence is something that you do. It's a habit. And so you acquire confidence by repeatedly practicing this habit. Now, over the last 2 decades of coaching, we've discovered some kind of lesser known ways to practice this habit that I think might be helpful for you guys. So here's kind of what we've seen. One is when you're going after or acquiring core confidence. No, let me back up. There's 2 types of confidence. There's core and there's situational, right? Core confidence is the kind of confidence that you have regardless if you're good at something. So, you have that guy and he seems really confident, and you take him on a tennis court and he's never played tennis and he's awful at it, and he still somehow seems confident. You're like, how? Like, how are you confident here? Like, you're walking around like you're not scared and you're like very sure of yourself, even though you're awful at tennis, right? That's because what he has is core confidence. So imagine Dwayne Johnson playing tennis and being bad at it. You'd still feel like, wow, that's a really confident guy for being that bad at tennis, right? That's core confidence. Situational confidence is being good at tennis and then obviously feeling confident because you're good at that. So there's 2 types. The way you get core confidence is by the fast track, at least, is by doing things that scare yourself. So figure out what things scare you and start doing them. I have jumped out of planes. I have bungee jumped. I have done ATV stuff. I have done public speaking in front of hundreds of people. I have done networking events where I have no business being there and I felt like a fraud. And the majority of the reason that I did all those things is because I realized a long time ago, that scaring myself or doing things that scare me the most is the fastest way to get core confidence. And you know this intuitively, because if you think about the guys that in your life that that seem to have this core confidence, there emerges a trend of what their occupations are. They tend to be guys like firefighters, policemen, military guys, like sometimes EMTs. Like it's the same type of thing, right? Over and over again. Why is that? What do those things have in common? They're all things that scare the crap out of people, that most people wouldn't be able to do because they're too scared. And these people are doing it on a daily basis. So it's not a coincidence that these people also tend to have the highest levels of core confidence. So that's the first thing. Super important, very hard to do, but has huge, huge implications to your life. All right. Second thing, when it comes to situational confidence, right? And again, situational confidence comes from doing something well. So if you're like really good at socializing or conversation or dating skills, you're going to feel confident interacting with people because you're good at that, right? Being good at that comes down to reps, not being like lucky in the genetic lottery. Like you can, but we can't rely on that, right? People that are good at conversation, good with dating, good socially, good all these things, they're good because they've put a lot of reps down. Even guys that are like, they seem like they just have a knack for it. If you go back and you ask, okay, when you were growing up, how many women, like when I grew up, right? I grew up like building computers and being a dork, right? If you ask me at 18, how many women have you talked to in your life that was like your dating age, right? Your age, that wasn't a school classmate? I could probably count it on one hand, maybe two, right? Then if you asked my friend who seemed like he could effortlessly talk to women, how many women do you talk to? He's like thousands. So it's not a coincidence, right? It's reps. It comes down to volume. So if you want to get good at this, you just need to do the reps and you need to do a ton of them. So what I would recommend in terms of creating situational confidence and creating that habit is aim for 10 to 20 reps a week at minimum to gain this level of confidence. Meaning go talk to 10 to 20, and it doesn't have to be cold. Just talk to 10 to 20 women you've never met before and talk to 10 to 20 a week and watch that compound. And that's how you'll get that. All right. Next one. This last one's a little bit dependent on the individual, but most issues with confidence comes from a lack of self-assuredness. It comes from doing things as if you're not sure of yourself. So rather than doing them as if like you don't think that they're going to work, you can do them as if you are 100% confident it will work out, even if it's a lie. So there's this weird thing, if you think about it, people have this assumption that you have an obligation to act how you feel, right? Like your emotions inside, people assume that there is an obligation to be congruent with your emotions. So if you're sad, you have to act sad. And if you're happy, you have to act happy. And if you're confident, you have to act confident. If you're not confident, you have to act confident. And if you don't do it, people say you're not being authentic. And so there's this social pressure to do exactly what you feel like. But if you think about it, is there really an obligation to act how you feel? In other words, if a guy breaks down your door and threatens to rape your wife and kill your children, and you're scared, are you saying you're not allowed to step up and defend your family? You have to cower in the corner because after all, you're scared. And a scared guy cowers in the corner. So you can't be not authentic. That's inauthentic to step up and defend your family. You have to be authentic and you just have to cower. No one would say that. Nobody would say that. And if you think about it, you're like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like there is no actual obligation to act how you feel, at least in a big picture sense, right? That same thing happens with confidence.
Also, if you do that all the time, your skill set becomes dependent on how you're feeling all the time.
Yes.
As in, you can only pull it out and execute it when you're feeling good, which if you look at anyone in sports, I know you always give the example of Michael Jordan, he doesn't have to be in state to be good.
He doesn't have to feel good to make
he
layups.
can have a really bad night emotionally and still perform because the skill set is separate from his emotions.
Right. That's why he's so consistent. So there is no obligation for you to, if you don't feel confident, to act not confident. You are fully able to not feel confident and just fake it. Just fake like you're confident. Because the key to being confident means you have to act confident. That's the weird thing that people don't get. The more you act confident, the more you will feel confident. That is the shortcut to it. So be okay with acting confident, even if you're not feeling. No one is going to come after you for, oh, you said that very confidently, even though you're not very confident, right? Okay. Second habit here, outcome independence. Okay. So anytime you're trying to learn a skill, you want to focus on getting better at the skill, not on getting an outcome. And here's why. Because focusing on the outcome encourages you to cheat and take shortcuts because the only thing that matters is the outcome. Here's an example. You have a child and you tell your child the only thing that matters is you get an A. That's it. Care about nothing else. I don't care if you learn the stuff. I don't care if you study. Only thing that matters is you get an A. The outcome is the only thing that matters. What's that kid going to do? He's going to cheat because you told him the only thing that matters is the outcome. Whereas if you told him the thing that matters is you trying your best and you actually learning the material, that's different because learning the material is process. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to acquire a skill set that prevents us from getting stuck in the friend zone or gets us out of the friend zone, right? The outcome is that we eventually don't get in the friend zone and we can get ourselves out of it, but we don't want to incentivize ourselves to cheat. What we want to do is practice that process. So outcome independence is extremely important when you're dealing with socializing and dating because it's really the only way you can get the proper volume of reps in without quitting prematurely. So if you're trying to, like, say, talk to 10 or 20 women a week and your objective is, I want them to like me, right? Which is an instinctive thing that we all think, right? If you do that, and after 4 weeks, you've talked to 80 women and 79 of them have not liked you, are you really encouraged to keep going? No. You're going to quit. You're going to quit. You're going to get discouraged because you're not getting your outcome. But what if I told you, go do the 80, and the only thing I want you to focus on is, did this rep make me better? Did I do this rep and am I getting better because of it? Because I'm actually practicing. And if I did, that's all that matters. Well, then after 80, you're like, well, 79 still don't like me, but I can see myself getting better. I can see myself getting a little more confident. I can see myself getting a little more polished. Now you're encouraged. And that's not because of instant results. It's because you're focusing on the process. So that's why this particular habit is so important. Okay, last one is leading.
Okay, so leading is to women what physical attractiveness is to a man. As in, a lack of leading can and often will completely kill a woman's attraction for you. So, from a woman's perspective, a man who doesn't lead, it doesn't feel good, to put it simply. So, for example, I had an ex that didn't lead ever. In fact, that is one of the main reasons the relationship broke down. We were together for a very long time, but the consistent lack of leading is what really broke down my attraction for him. And I was always doing the planning for the dates. I was always planning, trips. I was planning even our vacation to the US. So funny thing is I had planned this 6-week vacation to the US, and I planned everything, hotels, itinerary, just every little thing was done. I had a big folder. It was all like sorted out. He just literally had to show up, except I asked him to do one thing. So already we see no leading there. I'm doing everything. I'm taking all the action, very much pushing me into being in like a masculine energy. And I asked him to do one thing, which was to order and bring the converters for the Australian plugs to the US plugs. And we get to the US, pulls out the plugs, we got to use it. And guess what? It's the wrong way around. He bought to convert the US plug to Australian. So not only was I only asking him to do one thing, the one thing I did ask him to lacked competence, which is competence is another one of these factors that goes into this. So now you would think, okay, he made a mistake. Cool. Now, did he lead to fix that mistake? Or did I lead to fix that mistake? Did he Google, okay, where do we get a plug from around here? We'd never been to America before. I don't know the stores at all. Nope, it's me. Going on, finding out Best Buy, seeing that Best Buy has one, calling Best Buy. Okay, we got to go to Best Buy, and now we're going to drive there, and I'm going to navigate everything. So this is an example of a lack of leading. If I can't lean on him and trust him to step up with that level of competence, I'm not going to sustain sexual attraction for him. And especially when you're in a really long-term relationship, you need to be able to sustain that. You don't just get the girl and then that's good for the rest of your life. You have to continue that. A great example where I really saw the difference between how it made me feel in terms of when a guy was leading and when he wasn't was when I started dating Darren. And there was a very really simple and small example that just showed me what a difference leading makes in attraction. And that was that anytime we went to, my ex and I went to a restaurant or something like that, where there was like seating involved or something that needed to be said to the waiter, maybe it was the food, anything. It was always me saying it, as we have seen. But when I started dating Darren, we went to, I think it was the Comedy Store, right? And they just seat you wherever as you come in. And when I went in, we had a certain seat that I don't think we really liked. There's something off about it. I don't remember what it was. It's like the chair was rickety. I don't know. So I was ready to step up and, call the guy over and ask if we could change seats. But then I was also kind of just feeling like I just was like, oh, I'm just going to deal with it because I don't even want to deal with this right now. So I remember you looked at me and you were like, you don't like this seat, do you? So already leading by looking at my emotional state, my facial expression, seeing how comfortable I was in the situation. And then I even said, oh, don't worry about it because I didn't want to deal with it. And then he still immediately flagged the guy down, talked to him really kindly and asked him if we could have a different seat. And next thing I know, we're moving, way better seat, way better view. It was just a really good experience, but it was just such a small but significant example of what a difference it makes for a guy to lead in those situations, and how much safer I felt in that situation, that I knew that he could take over. I was well looked after. If something came up, he could handle it, and I didn't have to be on edge. Because when a woman is having to lead all the time, you're causing her to be in a state of hypervigilance. And you cannot be in a feminine energy when you're hypervigilant, because that's by nature, hypervigilance is by nature a masculine trait. So leading is super, super important.
Cool. Okay. All right. So there's a caveat to this, right? To all of these things, these 3 habits that we just went over. Do not work on yourself so that you can get the girl, or that you can get the girl to like you, or you can get a result, or you can get many girls. Don't work on yourself for that. It will come off transparent. This has to be something you do for you. And then there happens to be a side effect that you are more attractive, but you have to do it for you. Or if you think about it, you're just exacerbating the neediness. You're just saying, well, I won't be needy by chasing. I'll be needy by working on myself. And then when I don't chase, she'll like me. It's the same thing. You're still being needy, right? So you got to do this for you. And sometimes that just means telling yourself every day that you're working on yourself, I'm doing this for me. And sometimes it's just as simple as that in order to move that needle and to start solidifying that mindset. Okay. All right. So final recap here. In this section, we've covered the 4 things you must do to get out of the friend zone, the 3 best social skills to build in order to get out of the friend zone, and the 3 must-have habits you need in order to get out of the friend zone. All right, Paul, what has been your biggest takeaway about the friend zone? Drop your answer in the chat.
Oh, good question. I'm trying to think what my biggest takeaway is from this class. I think the whole thing, to be honest.
Be
but
short
even
and Asian.
George said that best explanation of outcome independence I've ever heard, and I have to agree. It was really explained very well. But Adam said, have strong opinions, core confidence, and leadership is key. Don't compliment, says Tom, putting distance first. Adam Kudo, Sean, upgrading my clothing style a bit. I think that's a key one too. Show her that you are not afraid to express your opinions. Don't overinvest. Actually, that's a huge one too. The don't overinvest.
Yeah, probably the main one.
Best I've got from this experience is I found out things about myself without thinking about how to interact with women. That seems to me to come about because of who I have become. Don't wind up in it. Be an abundance mindset. Yeah, these are great things. Confidence and leadership leads to better everything. It depends on your commitment to improve. Maintain intent of interest. Practice, practice, practice. Outcome, meh. I like that.
Sums
Right.
it up well.
Marni, have you talked to your guys at all about attachment styles?
Attachment style. I've used it in some things, but I've never fully like broken it down.
Okay, so I for everyone here who's suffering from the friend zone thing, go look into attachment styles, specifically anxious attachment, because anxious attachment, Nikki's an expert on this. Anxious attachment exacerbates the friend zone thing, and it exacerbates the like pining and like falling in love with her and all that. And it's actually a reaction to the love or lack of love you got as a child or as a baby from your parental figures.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, or consistent
love.
Yeah.
And if you do find that you look up, you can actually do attachment quizzes online. There is a really good one by a website called the Attachment Project, and that probably has the most accurate exam that you can do. It's just a short quiz, so you answer questions and they'll tell you what kind of attachment style that you are. If you are anxious attachment, which is you will probably have a lot of issues with the friend zone, I would recommend a book called Love Me, Don't Leave Me by Michelle Skeen. It's really fantastic. It'll break down all these things. You're going to be like, oh my God, that explains everything. That explains why you're going to have so many epiphany moments when you read that book. And there's also a bunch of assessments. I don't have any affiliation. I just recommend it because it's just so enlightening to read. And I've given it to my students a lot, and it's really like brought to light a lot of the things that are going on inside that affect, what's going on the outside. So, and there's also a bunch of assessments in there you can do that will literally pinpoint where these issues in your childhood or adolescence has come from. So yeah, definitely good point. Yeah, I definitely would recommend looking into your attachment style, because yes, if you do have anxious attachment, you probably are having a lot of issues with the friend zone, or you're having issues with getting into relationships that aren't good for you and not being able to get out of them.
Yep. 100%.
Love that.
Cool. Okay. All right. Let's jump into the last couple of things here. I want to do a case study. Because remember I talked about earlier, everyone's probably wondering like, how do we end up together? Especially because she didn't find me attractive, right? I want to break down exactly what happened, like what we did, including screenshots of exactly how I interacted with her. So remember the key components to kind of getting out of that friend zone. I wasn't a friend zone in a classic sense of like, I'm pining for her, I'm in love with her, and she just sees me as a friend. It was a friend zone in the sense that she saw me as just a friend and there was no attraction, right? So if I had pined for her and gotten needy and whatever, that's exactly what would have happened, right? But instead, I leveraged the things that we talk about. So I leveraged disagreeableness, strong opinions. There was constant laughter whenever we interacted. There's lots of humor, lots of teasing
and humor.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of leading. And I wasn't keep in mind at this point, she and I were in different relationships. I wasn't doing this because I was trying to like do something to get her attracted to me. Remember we said a lot of these are habits. I was doing all this.
Who you are, essentially.
Yeah, it's just a habit. Like I do strong opinions by habit, not because I'm trying to get something from someone, right? Laughter, humor, teasing, those things. Even sometimes like us, even in
But
like
towards the end, the teasing and the flirting was more intentional because we weren't in relationships anymore.
Right.
So it was
Right.
more ethical.
Yeah. And so the leading thing it was a thing that's just what I do. It's just a default.
Yeah,
because
he's always like that in any situation. So
the running joke is that I lead when I'm not supposed to lead. She'll be like, where are we going? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, why are you acting like you know where we're going? Just leading us into nowhere. I'm like, I don't know. It just seemed like this is the right way to go.
But it's actually honestly better than a guy being lost.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was leading, flirting. So we did a lot of like drills with students where we practiced flirting with them. And in that process, I would tell the student, okay, say this because this is the appropriate thing. And so I would be telling the student, this is how you flirt. Well, I was inadvertently flirting with her through the student as a proxy. So, but the flirting was there, right? The non-neediness was there. So these types of things that we talked about, this is what really made this work, what changed things. So I'm going to give you guys an example and I'm going to show you kind of what this looks like as kind of an example here. Okay, so these are screenshots, obviously from a long time ago, but these are screenshots from us, obviously before we were dating and we were just kind of coworkers, right? So let's see. She had gone back to Australia for a wedding, and I think I'd missed a boot camp that we had done or whatever, right? And then I think she told a friend of ours or whatever. I'd heard through the grapevine she just gotten back from Australia. Keep in mind, this is 2017, so some of the references are relative to 2017. So I said, I heard you got back. Okay. I tried to tell them to get the wall up in time, but they slacked on it, right?
So this was the time where Trump was
like the wall.
the wall.
Right. So I was like, they tried to get the wall up in time, but they slacked. Sorry, it didn't happen. And she says yes, because they were probably wondering why some random Asian guy was telling them what to do. But yes, I got back. Okay, thank goodness. So she's playing back with this, right? She's joking around back with this, and she's teasing me back here. And remember, in this case, this is just playful banter. This is not like we're trying to head towards something. This is how we interacted. And I said, okay, LOL, good to have you back. And then I said, Jared and I are in San Diego this weekend for a bachelor party. So no drills this week. So that's referencing a work thing, right? And then I said, are you still doing classes on Monday? Jared and I wanted to get you on a call to discuss future work stuff, whatever, right? She says, no, I was looking forward to drills. So it's ambiguous, but because she actually liked the job, she loves this job, but also it's ambiguous. You can't tell. To her credit, she could be showing interest now, and it's super ambiguous because is it that you like me or that you like the drills, right? So that's skill on her part. Koniko is my cat, and I said Koniko said you can do drills with him as long as it involves pets, like being pet, right? And tuna. So I'm being playful again. And what I'm really saying is we're not available to do the drills, this work thing, but you can do it on my cat, which is a playful, silly, absurd thing to say. And say as long as like you give him tuna and pets.
So one thing we've got to mention as well is this is the shift from purely work talk, where we would only discuss just, hey, what time are you coming in? Cool. All right, see you later. There was nothing. This is when it started to transition into being playful, that moving away from that strictly work scenario into a more starting to build attraction. Yeah.
So she says, sounds great. I said, reminder, drills tomorrow at 1 p.m. Also, this comes from your country. And if you guys can't see it, it's a picture of like some candy that says camel balls, extra sour. Right.
Which is from Australia for some
Yeah.
reason.
I think I saw it for something and it like reminded me of her. So I sent this. So it's a reference to her and her country, but it's also a teasing reference because I'm implying these are your people. This is what you guys are known for. This is like your claim to fame. Right.
Yeah, it's like an attempt to embarrass me a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Which worked.
She said, "Oh my God," laughing. I love how they're sour. And I was like, "Of course they are." And she says, "Did you find these?" So she's setting me up for a tease. I can feel it, right? And I said they showed up in my Facebook feed. And then she says they're gluten free too. How convenient. Wouldn't want to have a gluten reaction to camel balls, right? So again, joking around, bantering back and forth here. Let's see. I don't know if this is back to back. This might be back to back. I don't know. Or this could be a delay of a few days.
I don't think, yeah, I think this was a separate.
So she texted me, do you
This
still
was
teach?
me initiating with you now because he had been starting to build attraction. So now this is me investing, trying to bring up something so we could have a back and forth, because you got to realize at that point it was just work stuff.
Right. So she says, do you still teach martial arts classes on Tuesday nights? And I told her Ben asked for a few weeks off, so we'll probably start again after holidays. Why, what's up? And she says, okay, I just wanted to start training again. So again, if you look at this from a tactical standpoint, she's showing very, very ambiguous interest. So does she want to train because she likes me? Does she want to train because she just wants free training? Like, because I'm like, oh, it's an Asian guy. Like him, she gives me free kung fu training. Like, why does she, like, it's ambiguous. And that's the skill involved in here, because she can always choose whichever one she wants. And that's how you flirt. Flirting is never just whip it out. That's not flirting. That's sexual interest, right? Flirting is done in a way that's ambiguous. And that's the beauty in this. So I said, okay, so here's where disagreeableness comes in, right? And this is not playful disagreeableness. This is just general disagreeableness.
Like, you could have gotten so excited, which
Yes.
most guys would have, and be
Yes.
like, oh my God, yes, come and
Of course.
train. Like, is that
Yeah.
an opportunity for us to like
To hang
chat
out. Yeah.
and hang out? Yeah,
Right.
hang out. I
Right.
was thinking the boy version.
Right. So instead I said, not sure you're going to want to train the way we do, but you're always welcome. We train hard and gritty, doing mostly grappling and focusing on raw aggression for Ben, who is one of our students back at the time. So we're doing hard takedowns, chokes, submissions, not super girl friendly.
Did you mean to make that sound kinky though?
No, I didn't. Not at all. Not at all. Although I had an inkling that you would do the rebellious thing.
Yes,
In the back
because
of my
also the other part of that message that he sent is he's actually challenging.
Yeah.
So throwing challenges is also effective for a girl to buy an investment.
Because she's going to be like, I'll show
I
you.
can do that.
Yeah.
Which I totally did.
So I said, I know you're a tomboy, but it might be a bit much. So that part for me, remembering back, that part was the part where specifically I was thinking in my head, this is a challenge. Like, I was consciously aware of this, right? I know you're a tomboy, but it might be a bit much, right? Because I know the reaction. She's going to be like, I'll show you. Like, don't tell me what to do, right?
Yes.
And I said, always welcome to see if you like it, though.
Which
right?
most girls really do buy into, because they don't like being told they can't do things.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you'll notice here, like Nikki said, this is the part where everybody gets excited.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, like really attractive girl, like wants to hang out and do whatever, right? And now keep in mind, I wasn't doing this intentionally, right? This is just
the challenge was
ingrained.
intentional.
The challenge was, but this is just an ingrained thing.
Yeah.
I actually was worried because we were literally body slamming each other into the mats. And I was like, this girl's not going to like this. Like, this is not like light sparring.
The difference
this is actual raw aggression.
And the difference is that even if you were worried and you were a regular guy, you still would have been like, oh, well, I'll figure it out.
Right.
I just wanted her to come over and have fun.
So this is the non-needy, disagreeable trait that we talked about in practice here. So then she says, haha, the fact that you said it might be a bit much makes me want to do it more. Laughing out loud, I have problems. I may still check out what you guys do, though. So then I said,
buying into the challenge, and then also ambiguous interest there. Right.
I said, haha, yes, we know. Meaning like I'm aware of her, like her rebellious nature. I'll let you know once we resume. So then I think this is like a couple days later.
Also notice he doesn't say, oh yeah, okay, no worries, that'll be awesome, smiley face. Like he doesn't overdo the even saying like, yes, we can, if you insist, it's still not overly excitable. Right.
So then a few days later, she sent me a message from a random guy.
It was a comment on my Instagram photos, and and it was just obviously a weird comment.
It's some
but
guy
I'm
that
just
said,
like-
"You're so beautiful, madam. Can I be your personal hairstylist?"
just really random, nothing
Yeah.
to do with my post or anything like that. Just a random comment on my thing, and I thought he would find it funny or amusing just because of the work context.
So I responded, laughing out loud. At least he called you madam, because she's basically implying, "Look at this creepy guy," right? And I said, "Although you're a crappy madam because you have no hose." So backstory to this: I was always trying to have Nikki recruit other actresses for us because she's an actress for the company. In that we use them for drills and boot camps and everything, and it's very very hard to find good actresses, right? So I was always trying to have like, "Hey, invite your actress friends or whatever," right? And she just like for whatever reason it didn't work out, right? Or she didn't bring them around or whatever, right? And so there was this running joke about she's very bad at recruiting, right? She's very bad at like sending her friends over to interview with us. So this reference, "You're a crappy madam." Remember, he called her madam, and I'm using that misinterpretation of madam being, a madam of like a brothel, right? Said, "Though you're a crappy madam because you have no hose," right? And she says, "How do you know I have no hose?" And I said, "Because you never bring them around," right? Referencing that previous thing. And then she actually did refer one girl to us who was awful, like just horrible, right? And she felt super bad because she didn't know the girl that well, right? But I obviously made fun of her for that.
Bugging me about it.
Yeah,
I finally brought someone and she sucked.
So then I said, "Well, wait, you brought one of them and she was the most obnoxious girl ever, right?" So we're laughing about this shared thing. She says, "Ha ha ha, if you wanted to bring my hose around, you just have to ask. And I don't think she'd even be good at being a hoe." And then I said, "Yeah, she'd be an awful hoe. She'd just talk your ear off and she'd never fuck you, rip off." So that's a callback to that the girl basically didn't stop talking. She just talked nonstop, right? Even when we needed to do a drill where the other person talked. So that's a reference to that. And then Nikki said she'd be like the hoe. Okay, so this is another backstory reference. Nikki had found out through friends that they, one of the bachelor parties that we referred to before, the guys went around to find the absolute largest stripper in the strip club in Mexico and paid her to give me a lap dance and then boxed me into the table so I couldn't get away as like a prank, right? And so she finds out about that, and that's what she's referring to. She'd be the whole equivalent of the fat stripper your friends get you at a bachelor party. So she's playing back, right? She's teasing, she's bantering, right? So this kind of gives you an idea. You can see, but in this case, you can also see Nikki's skill level in being able to execute the same exact techniques. So you can see both of us being able to execute those things. Now, if you think about the vibe here, right? The vibe of how this goes, you can feel the attraction. Like if this was, let's put it this way, if this was your wife talking to a guy and she was talking to him like that, you'd be like, "I don't know who this guy is. You're not talking to him anymore," right? Because there's a vibe of like something's about to happen, something's gonna happen. That's the attraction being created and the friend zone being demolished because of those techniques. So
And
that's
the crappy madam because you have no hose. That whole
Yep.
section there is a good example of edge when we're talking about having
yes.
edginess.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not the sexual nature, it's just the way that he's talking. It's not safe and harmless. It's having the ability to say those things and not be scared that I'm going to get offended by it.
Yeah. Okay. So that kind of gives you guys an idea, right, of what this actually looks like in this case study of a real life example of how I went from where our starting point was of she was not attracted at all to how I created attraction. So think of this type of interaction over and over and over and over again, and you can start to feel the sexual tension being built. You can feel the attraction being built, and that's ultimately what got me out of that friend zone. So I hope that helps you guys. All right, so we have a second case study here. We're about wrapped up, but I really wanted to do this because I thought it would be really cool. We do this on our training all the time. I want thus to do a live drill on webcam with one of you guys who volunteers. So I would say whoever wants to volunteer for this, we're going to do an interactive drill where you talk to Nikki, and I'm going to tell you if you're exhibiting those characteristics that would get you stuck in the friend zone and how you would fix that in real time to stop that. So anybody who wants to volunteer to kind of be in the hot seat and to do this interaction or do this drill with Nikki, I guess speak up in the chat, and then we'll unmute, and then we'll
Maybe
give this
Marni can select
yeah
someone.
yeah.
I would say let's have Michael McCann, come on and volunteer. I know Adam put his name down first, but you volunteered a few times in these master classes. So I'd like to try somebody new. So Michael, if you are okay with coming on, do you want to take the PowerPoint off?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let me stop that.
Michael can come on, can go on camera. Where is Michael? I can't even see where he is on here. Nope. Michael, do you want to speak?
Can he raise his hand, or whoever wants to go?
He put his name down. Okay, it won't allow me to do cam. Okay, so let's go to Richard Baker. Richard, do you want to take yourself off mute and
I'll mute.
There we
Okay.
go. Okay.
I'm
all right, let
unmuted.
me spotlight this and see if this works.
okay.
It will remove all pinned videos. Let's give this a shot.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
There you
awesome.
go. Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. So let's see. Russell, right? Did I get that right, Russell?
No, you're
Oh
looking
no,
at the wrong
sorry.
person.
I'm looking at the wrong person.
This is Richard.
This is Richard. Okay. All right, Richard. Okay. Pretend this is a meeting at a party, right? And
Okay.
that you were introduced by the host of the party to
Okay.
this woman, and you're going to interact with her just the way you would in a normal party. And then we'll kind of, after a minute or so, we'll break down kind of what's going on and see if we can make some improvements.
Why don't you introduce us? I'm
Okay.
Samantha.
Okay. All right. Richard, I wanted you to meet my really good friend, Samantha. She's an actress out of LA, and she just actually moved to the area and everything. And so she's, kind of getting settled and everything, but really good friend, very talented, very cool.
Hey,
Well, hi,
Richard.
Samantha. I'm a musician. How long you
cool.
been in LA?
I've been here for about 5 years.
5 years?
Mhm.
And
Well,
are
actually,
you
no, that's wrong. I've been going back and forth, but I for 5 years, but I officially moved like 2 months ago.
okay? Are you getting to movies or TV or plays,
Mainly film and television.
film and television? And you, any TV stations that you're going to 2, 4, 7?
Usually I actually get a lot of auditions for the CW.
Oh, CW?
Yeah,
Which station?
yeah.
And this is where I get tongue tied.
Okay, that's totally okay. That's totally okay. Okay, so if you guys recall the slide on strong opinions, right? One of the things I
Right.
said in strong opinions is that it is the backbone, foundational element of conversation. And if you don't use them, you get stuck asking a lot of questions. So where
Right.
you got stuck with is asking questions, right?
Right.
And
Too
then
many questions.
exactly.
Exactly.
Here's the role of questions. Only ask questions that are interesting or that you care about. If they're
Okay.
neither interesting nor do you really care about them, don't ask them. Second
Okay.
is don't ask more than 2 questions in a row.
Okay.
And third is try to keep the use of questions very sparing at the very beginning of an interaction.
Okay.
So instead, I want to walk you through how you would do this and making a slight tweak. Okay.
Okay.
So start with the same way, and you can ask a question, but immediately give your opinion about her answer. So any
Okay.
question you'd like, but instead of asking a follow-up question, tell me what you feel about the answer.
Oh God, that's a tough one.
So go ahead and start off with a question. What question would you ask her?
Okay, Nikki, how long have you been in California?
I've been here for about 2 months.
Okay. So what is your opinion about moving to California 2 months ago? I don't know if you're from California, but most people know kind of what California is turning into. So you probably have an opinion.
Well, I was born in Santa Monica, so I'm a California guy.
Okay. So yeah. So we used to live in downtown, right? What do you think of someone just moving to California now? The idea of moving to California. What are your feelings of that? How do you feel about that? What is your opinion on that?
Oh, that's what I'm supposed to ask, or
No, that's what you're saying. So when when you ask her, right? When
Right,
did you
right,
move?
right.
And she
What-
says 2 months ago.
right? What
Tell us-
brought you to California
No,
besides
don't-
acting?
Don't
No?
ask a question.
No.
Tell us how you feel about the idea of moving to California 2 months ago.
Oh, how do I feel?
Mhm.
What do you like about California? What don't you like about California?
No. Tell us how you feel.
You.
How I feel?
How you.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
don't
for
ask
example,
a
Richard,
question.
oh my God, why did you move here?
Exactly.
The taxes are
Right.
absolutely insane.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
Or you
How
say,
would
oh
you
my
feel
God,
if
I'm
you
so
just
glad you
moved?
moved here. I've lived here since I was a little kid. It's the most amazing place. I'm so glad to have you in our state. Where are you coming from? So it's
Okay.
like it's what what Darren's saying is,
Okay, so what state did you come from?
Well,
but it's
uh,
not questions.
I
It's you
would,
saying
I
your
would,
feelings about it.
yeah, I would actually avoid the question altogether.
Okay,
I would just, you don't know what state she came from. You just know she
No.
just moved to California 2 months ago,
right,
right?
right.
Tell us what your feeling or opinion is on the idea of someone having just moved to California. Do you think that's a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Do you love the new people here? Do you hate it? Do you think that was a foolish move? What is your opinion?
Well, California is very eclectic, especially for people who live in Hollywood and stuff. So, I met actors, I work with actors, so
So
they're
what's
very
your,
moody people. So,
okay, good. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we're getting
right. I
somewhere
mean, like I said,
because
I work at Six Flags over here, and like I said, I deal with actors all the time. So they're very moody people.
so now we're getting somewhere because now she has something to talk about,
Okay.
right? So she's going to be like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that because I just moved," or maybe, "Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about because this is my world." And now we're not struggling to have a conversation because you
Okay.
just provided us sufficient topics to be
Okay.
able to talk about because you gave an opinion instead of asked a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Right. So let's try this one more time. Ask another general question, and then I want you to practice giving your opinion on her answer.
All right. Did you fly or drive here?
I actually drove here from Texas.
Okay. What is your opinion on driving from Texas?
Well, personally, I don't like Texas, but that's because I'm a Democrat, but that's my opinion.
Okay. So that's fine. Tell us a little bit more why. Just keeping in mind you want to avoid the political slant to it. So,
Oh,
for example, if you had said, "Yeah, I don't really like Texas because everything's bigger in Texas, and we're already getting fat enough as it is in California. I'm good," right? That's a
Right.
non-serious, silly thing of Texas that
Right.
won't take us into a political discussion.
Okay. Well, I heard that Texas is a very open area and it takes you forever to drive around.
So, what do you think of the drive from Texas?
Okay. I think it's too long.
Good. So you would go into, I could never do that. Like it's
Correct.
such a long, boring drive. I would just
Right.
immediately fall asleep.
True.
Right.
So yeah, I heard that from other people. Yeah.
Right. So this is strong opinions.
Okay.
And if you can do this effectively,
Right.
you never run out of things to say.
Okay.
You're always able to hold conversations, lead conversations. Everyone thinks you're fascinating. It all comes down to having the basic foundational building blocks of strong
Right.
opinions.
Right.
And that's why this is so important.
See, I'm not allowed to make any opinions about voting or political stuff at work because it's like I have strong opinions, if you know what I mean.
Sure, of course,
Because
right?
I'm a poll worker on the slide, see, so I know what's going on, but I can't say anything
There's
at
a
work
difference
because
between judgmental opinions,
right.
and just having opinions. Even like what I talked about with, sorry, I'm gonna mute Michael. Even like what I talked about with Darren in the very beginning about like what's the context for disagreements and opinions. It's not putting something down.
Right.
It's more playful, right? Oh God, I would
Right.
never want to drive from Texas. That is like I would
Right.
fall asleep. I would absolutely fall asleep. That would be horrible for me. But I hope you had a good time, right? It's like
Right.
it's giving an opinion, right? And maybe even disagreeing with the fact that she chose to drive from there without necessarily putting down her choice. Because then you're going to get in battles. That's not going to create attraction.
Right. Exactly.
Create distance.
Great turn off.
Richard,
Yeah.
I would say on the political thing, just avoid political conversational direction at the beginning. So
Yeah.
it's very tempting to get into that realm. It just doesn't help you. Like no one's turned on by politics.
No,
girls like, "Why?"
especially now,
Right.
'cause-
Even if she agrees with you, it doesn't turn her on. You know what I mean? So
exactly,
it's a lose-lose. So, but if you have the ability to do strong opinions, you can do them on a myriad of different topics, and you never have to worry about I have to resort to politics.
Well, here's a good example. So if I say Samantha, right? I'm using example, Samantha, your name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have a favorite actress or actor and why? Is that a good, strong opinion?
No, that's a question.
That's a question.
That's a question.
But then
Oh,
when I
okay.
say the answer, then you
Okay.
would give your opinion. So if I said
Oh,
Angelina
okay.
Jolie, then you'd give
Okay.
her an opinion on Angelina Jolie.
Oh,
I think
okay.
she's really beautiful. I wish she still did
Right.
movies, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what you want to practice is hammering reps on strong opinions. So the way you do this is you take a noun, right? So it's microphone, nails, water, any noun, and then practice giving your opinion on the noun. If you get stuck and you're like, what do I say about a water bottle, right? What you
right.
do is just narrow the context. So you might not have an opinion on a water bottle, but do you have an opinion on Dasani water bottles? Probably, because they taste like bleach, right? Like even during the pandemic, everyone was like hoarding all the water, but they left the Dasani in the grocery store, right? So you might have an opinion on Dasani water bottles because it's a narrowed context of water bottle. And so that will help you be able to practice.
Well, that they
opinions.
change the plastic now to be really thin, so it crumples in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
hand. It's really
Right.
annoying.
It's super annoying. So practice the strong opinions because that's going to move the needle the most for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I would say practice cutting off questions. I might say limit yourself to one question per conversation for now.
Okay.
So when you get into a conversation, you're allowed to do one question maybe every 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Because
right.
you're using conversation or you're using questions as a crutch right now. So
That's
if you
why your brain
limit,
keeps reverting to it
the question, yeah.
immediately because you're just so used to it. So you just got to get used to the other part of that, which is the opinions.
Right.
The way you do that is to ban yourself from the questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Marni, do we have time for one quick one? Another one?
I would say let's wrap it up so that
Okay.
it's okay. I'm sorry, but I
Yeah,
think
no worries.
it was great just to show, because I think other people were like, oh, I know how I could do. So even like seeing in the comments that people were thinking of things as well.
Right.
That's like, it's just a way to get people's conversation muscle working. So I think it was great.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let me turn this
Thanks,
back on.
Richard.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Hey, Marty, I wish I could afford you, but you just, I don't make enough. I'm only making minimum wage.
That is okay. That's why I make tons of free content, and then you just gotta use it and practice it.
Oh, I bought the F formula.
Good.
Okay. All right. Let me turn this slides back on. Okay. All right. So that was our case study number 2. That was live drill, right? With volunteers. Very cool. All right. What's next? So you guys all know the Oprah thing, right? One of my favorite things to do when I would give so I used to tour around the world giving talks to different cities or whatever. And one of my favorite things to do with these keynote speeches, especially when I was talking about dating, is to give free stuff away to the attendees because everyone made a big sacrifice to be there. And I remember the camaraderie of like everyone getting together and, we're all struggling and we're all helping each other. And I know it's dating and social skills stuff, but like the camaraderie was great. And I remember what it was like to be a client and to be a student as well. So I always loved that idea. And who doesn't love free stuff, right? So since Marni and I go way back, and we're like the OGs at this point, I wanted to bring back that tradition for her guys. So Marni's actually going to help me select I'd say a couple of lucky individuals from the roster of the guys.
Oh, wow.
Here. And I'm not going to tell you just yet what you guys are getting. In fact, what I'll do is I'll tell you guys a bit about some of the coaching packages that we offer, and then I'll tell you what you guys win, basically, right?
Okay.
Okay. So here are the training packages that we offer. The first is the anti-friend zone skills course. And this is a skills course specifically, obviously, for the friend zone idea. And so this is a series of modules that give you, so we just talked about strong opinions and we showed how important that was. So the course here includes the basic fundamentals on all of those things. So your conversational fundamentals, getting the edges that we talked about, how to tease, create humor, funny answers to common questions is when you're first starting out and you can't make a girl laugh. This is a technique you can do and you could probably practice for like 15, 20 minutes and you can make a girl laugh essentially on command at the beginning of a conversation. And so it's a really, really easy, now I won't fix all the problems, but it's a very, very big jump up. It's a very good starting point and it's a very easy thing to get started and to be able to generate humor. And when you interact with someone and you can immediately make them laugh, it changes the vibe. So we found that to be very useful. And that also comes with a free 20-minute call with one of our coaches to help you guys troubleshoot, maybe do a drill if we need to, figure out, answer questions and figure out where we can help you guys. So that's that course here. Our second thing is mock dates. So we do mock dates, which is where we send you guys out with an actress on a date. We do that either in person in Las Vegas or we do that via Zoom. So either way, however you want to do it, some guys elect to come to us and some guys want to do it over Zoom. This is a 30-minute date recorded in HD. Again, in person, it would be like at a restaurant or it'd be some date location, and in Zoom, it would be on Zoom. Once we do that, we've got a 30-minute date that you've never, ever seen before. Like no one's ever seen themselves on a date before, right? Once you have that, we then take 1 hour and we do a play-by-play breakdown. If you guys have ever like played football or like athletics in school where like you like go back and watch the tape, that's what we do. And we do a play-by-play breakdown of everything that happened on that date and how you improve, how you get better, how you do things, how you implement things that get you out of the friend zone, or how you otherwise improve. You get a chance to keep those videos. So if you'd like to watch them later, if you are a masochist or you just want to learn, you have those videos to keep with you. And then after that, we do a 60-minute drill session with a female assistant and a coach to correct any mistakes. So the play-by-play identifies the mistakes as a diagnostic. The drill session corrects the mistakes. And this is exactly how you teach someone in the Marine Corps to shoot or how to fight or how to do anything. You get a diagnostic of what he's doing wrong, and then you drill the technique over and over and over until he can't get it wrong anymore, until it's instinct to get it right. And so I've obviously stolen that methodology into how you improve your dates and how you improve all of these different things that make your date successful. So that's our mock dates here. Price on that is $1,800 or $1,900 for the live thing. And then our last offer here is fashion and photo transformations. So this is the, the before after pictures you guys saw. This is what we did to create that. So this is 2 full days of transformation here in Las Vegas. You have to come down for that because we're basically going to do a full day of fashion, grooming, hair, everything. The cost of clothing is not included, so you'll need to budget for that. And 1 full day of professional photography. So you're going to have multiple outfits, multiple locations. I'm going to be posing you myself. I'm going to be shooting you. And you guys saw the difference, right? You saw the before after. That's the after photos. Those are the professional photography. So this is particularly good for either A, makeover, or B, online dating, or both. It's obviously the makeover. If you do that thing where you pull back, you know what I mean? Like you're busy and you're in the friend zone and you kind of cut some contact and then you do the makeover and then you come back in 6 months, now with the full makeover and skills, that's really what moves that needle where she's like, oh, wow, you're so different. So that's what this transformation is for, as well as for anyone struggling with online dating.
Yeah, if you're one of those guys getting
nothing
near to no matches or in matches you're really not interested in, it's really a game changer for that. And then also you get a new wardrobe as well.
Yeah.
So you get to continue that beyond just the online dating. So when you meet up with her for a date, you don't look like you don't match your photos, because you do, because you just bought those clothes too.
So the reason we do a whole day of makeover is because we go out and we get a whole new wardrobe. So we're not getting like a shirt and pants. We're getting an entire wardrobe, right? Based on whatever budget you have. So that you don't just look good on the first date and the second date, you're like, crap, I have nothing to wear. I don't know what to do, right? We're basically doing a full transformation. And so that's why it takes all day.
And because they're high-end clothes, they will last you a long time.
Yeah. And for those of you guys that want the full package, we do offer a discount. If you want all 3 of them, that ends up being $24.97. And then also we also offer custom training packages. So for those of you guys that want something a little more customized, feel free to reach out after the class is done to inquire about details and everything else like that. Okay, so now that we guys know what is available, let's get into some giveaways. The first is the drill volunteer, Richard. You get the anti-friend zone skills course for free. And you also get a 30-minute diagnostic session with me for free. And so my rates are about $300 to $400 an hour. So this is basically a $400 essentially freebie that you get. So congratulations. Thank you so much for jumping on the thing and, putting yourself out there and being
Thank
able to
you.
do this.
Yeah. So just email me and I will get that to you. Or do you want his email address? Is that how you want to do it?
No, it's fine. Yeah, just go ahead and give it to me afterward, and then we'll set him up on everything. And then the second thing is Marni is going to give me 2 random names that she's going to pull from this list. And you also get the anti-friend zone course for free.
Oh dear.
So, pressure's on Marni.
Oh God, I don't know. The iPhone Chris Frazier was commenting a lot during this course, so they can have this. And then I'm going to say Marcus gets it as well.
Awesome.
So you guys,
Congratulations, guys.
here, just email me here and I will connect you. Yeah, Richard email the email address that I have listed there, and then I will connect you to Darren and Nikki. Wonderful. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. I got one more thing, or a couple more things. Third thing is that anybody who purchases the mock date or fashion photo packages also gets the anti-friend zone skills course thrown in for free. So it's kind of a cool like freebie that you guys get for that. So that's our third kind of giveaway. And our fourth giveaway is for everyone. And that is that because Marni and I go way back and everything, and we've had so much fun on this, and we've been super excited about this, I'm going to knock 50% off of all of our training packages. So
amazing.
All of those things are now 50% off. Keep in mind that is good for a sign up today. So you have to go to becomesharp.com/WGM. And then you can sign up there. You can scan the QR code. That is only good for today. But if you guys are interested, please take advantage of that thing, because that's just a limited time thing. And I wanted to say thank you, to you guys for showing up, and to Marni for putting this all together.
Yeah, I love it. This is a great masterclass. Thank you guys for staying on for an extra half an hour as well. I think that those little drills at the end were amazing and impactful, and it just shows it's tough, right? It's tough to transition away from a practice you've been doing for a long time. But the interesting thing is that, while Richard was our guinea pig, I think a lot of guys could see themselves in Richard.
Yeah, I could see myself. Yeah.
Right.
You rewind that 20 years. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. And you see what somebody's doing, you see what you're possibly doing, and you see how it could potentially not be helping you when interacting with people. So I think that was extremely helpful. So thank you guys so much. I was excited for this class, and for good reason. So I would highly suggest that everybody, if you have any interest in the 3 programs that are listed here, please go and check it out. Go to becomesharp.com/WGM. This PowerPoint is, actually, I think you said it's only available for 24 hours, right? They're going to watch the replay.
The discount is. So they can watch the replay, but the discount is only available for 24 hours.
Oh God. Okay. Well, hopefully people who watch the replay get to watch it within 24 hours. But definitely go check this out. I would love to hear what you guys thought about this class. I want to hear about it. So please write some comments, because I like to see it. Darren likes to see it. Nikki likes to see it. It's just positive reinforcement, but you guys are amazing. We will see you again next time. I totally forget who is our speaker next month. I think it's one of my wing girls, Elizabeth, and she's going to do a class on sex appeal. And really what we're going to do is just a whole bunch of drills, kind of like what we just did at the end of this class. So hopefully you'll join us for next month. But we did something interesting last time after the class. I allowed people to stay on and chat. I stayed on for an extra 5 minutes, but then guys stayed on and just sort of connected and shared. And you guys are more than welcome to do so as well. I'm going to stop recording so that those things are not being